Well, hello everyone. I am back from holiday. How are you doing? Simon, did you miss me?
Oh, it's been awful. We've had a great time. Hey. Panama and I have been doing culture streams, and it's been good fun.
Yes. Now, while I was gone, YouTube actually made the rarest of things, which is what I would describe as a good change. It made a very good change, and what it's done is it's created the ability to create within YouTube what they're calling shows. Right now, how it took them 10 years to do this, I don't know, but there is now such a thing as a show within YouTube that has seasons and episodes. Now, I have spent the best part of today not making videos, but sorting out these.
So, a good sort.
Right, so you can see my new my Great Thinkers series. If we have a look here, right, is now a season with episodes. Okay. Right now, check this out. Check this out. Check this out. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. If you have a look. Oh, where's it gone? Hold on. So if you have a look, unpopular opinions. Do you remember that? Do you remember that, folks? Now, watch. Season 1. It's got 25 episodes. There are all the episodes. No, check this. Let's say, when did D come into the show? Season 6? Right, season 6. Oh my goodness, we can get season 6 at a touch of a button. Okay, or we can get, the final season at the touch of a button. Can you see it? Oh, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So we've got all the different shows. So I've spent the morning creating these shows, and I'll show you some of the shows available on the channel now. Hold on. Right, so I've been meaning to do this for a while, Simon.
Yeah.
But because of the season option, Deepest Law 1.0, that is the pre-reviewing Adam Curtis Deepest Law, is now its own show, which you can watch from the beginning. It was, remember, I started with Batman, and we went through, all the art streams I did with D and Sparrow and all that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is like top content, the Warhol streams. But when I did Dylan, the Bowie stuff that we did,
and it's all still free.
Yeah, the Nightmare that I did, that was Horace's debut on the channel, if you recall. When I had Chuck Dixon, the legendary Batman writer, on the Wasteland streams that Panama did back in the day. I mean, all sorts of different things. Look, there's the Bowie streams, all still there, but now on its own dedicated show.
You've never had it so good.
Yeah, I mean, isn't this amazing? Isn't this amazing? Now, look at this. Cigar stream in all its glory, from episode 1 all the way down to episode 200 and odd. Whenever the entire history of Cigar Stream is all there in all its glory. Okay, so that's available. This is honestly the best thing YouTube have ever done, in my opinion. The best actual change that they've ever made. If I have a look at this, look, who's that? Who's that on reviewing Adam Curtis?
Relentlessly metonymized into an avatar of despair.
So you can see that exists. The Academic Agent retrospective for newbies to go through my greatest hits. Look, that's all there. Dark Lord Watch. Who's that? There he is.
It's like Amazon Prime. It's Amazon Prime in some way.
And I even have got a new cover for office hours. Look, see that?
Oh.
I know it admittedly is a bit sloppy, right? But I basically asked Brock, I said, have me as David Bowie from Man Who Fell to Earth, watching all the TV screens. And then on the TV screens, put James O'Brien, top of the slop, super thanks, super chats, and whatever else. And it did, to be fair, it did do it. But if anybody's got better skills than that, that's the basic concept.
You are such a brand now.
So that's it, basically.
Amazing.
I was quite excited by that.
Very.
I don't know if anybody will appreciate it, but it's the sort of little things.
Well, I mean, I understand. Like, it's nice and orderly, and it's like it kind of works like a shelf or a color. You know, it's nicely segmented and sorted and stuff, right?
Absolutely. I kind of enjoyed the organizational aspect of it. It did mean that instead of recording videos today, I've just been doing that all day. Kind of like got into like an autism zone. But anyway, I was back from holiday yesterday. It was absolutely boiling the whole time. The heat wave never ends.
No.
When's the heat wave going away?
Well, there was a few days when it was less hot. It's a bit easier to sleep at night at the moment. You know, there's a little breeze at night. Last night was pleasant, but
I think we are due rain actually in the next week or two. They say July is going to be a bit more of a washout. End of July.
Hello, by the way, Horus, and hello, Panama Hat.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. Did you go somewhere like? Oh, sorry, Panama.
No, you go
on. Did you go somewhere with shit weather on purpose, AA?
No, unfortunately. In fact, we went domestically. We often do. I don't know why, because it's fucking expensive. But anyway, you know, to give you an idea, one of the hotels we were staying at, £4 for a Coke Zero. £4.
That's not on.
In fact, I found a loophole where the vending machine was selling cans of Pepsi Max for £2. I was like, well, they have they have missed a trick here. So I was going back and forth the vending machine instead of paying the £4 a pop for that. But other than that, it was good. It was a good holiday. But now I'm back. I watched the football last night, and France were shocked. They were shocking, absolutely shocking. And listening to Ali McCoist on commentary reminded me that Scottish commentators have got a flair for moaning and for criticism. And I think we should be grateful for our Scottish friends for just being so... They've turned it into a fine art. And, you know, Annie McCoist on commentary, it's not good enough. They just do a great line in that sort of thing. So, and then I'm waiting for the game tonight. Horace, are you geared up for Bellingham? 60 years of her, eh?
I'm going to the pub to watch it with my friends. So, yeah, I mean, Argentina are not that great in defence, so they are beatable. But they're very, very good in attack. I thought France were nailed on to win the whole thing. I just thought they were and then they were just crap last night. So.
Yeah, I thought that as well.
So after France removed, my beloved team, which is Paraguay, from the World Cup, I was mainly there for them. I was expecting they would go on to win, like Horace said, because they seem to basically have solid team, and they've got that Mbappe fella who can score. What went wrong for them last night then? What did Spain have that all the other teams didn't have that stopped?
They were talking on commentary that France have got like a psychological block against the Spanish side because they've put them out like twice in a row before last night, and so they were suggesting that they've got like a kind of psychological hex on them, something like this.
Right.
I don't know if that's the case, but
Spain. I don't remember who they knocked out, but Spain did win the last European Championship. Beat England in the final, and they've got that Lamine Yamal, who's only 18 and he plays like he's 30. He's incredible. Yeah. But France's attack was fantastic. They got that Ousmane Dembele. I mean, they're all African and stuff, but Dembele is possibly going to win the World Player of the Year. They've got amazing players up front.
Now, I don't know if this is chatter in normie world because I don't talk to anyone, but watching the World Cup for us, I am convinced that the head of FIFA is corrupt.
No.
And the bald guy. And
No.
I also I have developed a conspiracy that they are deliberately fixing the World Cup for Lionel Messi to win it again. Because I mean this actually became a story. Like Egypt were absolutely diddled in that game. They had like a goal disallowed. But I think they had 2 goals disallowed. And Argentina have had a lot of dodgy decisions go their way. They also faced like really shit team. Like, do you remember Cape Verde? And they struggled even to beat them.
Cape Verde was good.
Well, yeah, but
played out of their skins somehow.
All I'm saying is it's just a little bit convenient, isn't it? That
I mean, a lot of things about FIFA are rotten, and not just under Infantino. Obviously, Sepp Blatter before was corrupt in other ways. Obviously, like FIFA just ruled in favour of that USA striker Balogun the other week, and
that was ridiculous as well.
And they're just not giving a reason. They're just refusing to give a reason. You know, they quote chapter and verse, but we're not asking about what powers you used.
England had that player sent off, that right back who was sent off. And then I saw a challenge last night that was basically identical. The guy wasn't even the guy was not sent off, let alone suspended. I just don't. It does seem like they're making a lot of arbitrary decisions across the board.
Why do FIFA want Messi to win though? I mean, he won the last World Cup. You know,
I don't know. I feel like I feel like there may be millions and millions riding on just the story of Messi, but I really do think like they're almost like paving the way, because I don't know. It just seems like convenient that they've expanded the tournament. Now as at the age of 39, he gets to play against all these shit teams and score literally 8 goals. And so and they haven't been that good, Argentina.
They're quite shoddy in defending. They're really not very good at defense. But I don't think the path has been cleared for them in particular. Corruption of all kinds, maybe. FIFA is rotten, especially this current chief. I mean, it just seems to work for America, really. I could see a case for them. Well, they definitely did act in favour of the USA team, but it's not enough because the USA team just never has been any good.
But basically, every time Messi plays, he sets a new record.
But I think Messi is just surprising people by continuing to be brilliant. But at the last World Cup, you might have had a case, but I did not see corruption, particularly at the last World Cup, apart from who got to host the World Cup, obviously. But Argentina won the last one fair and square, as far as I could see. I mean, they had some stumbles along the way. They lost to Saudi Arabia in the last World Cup.
I'll tell you something else as well. Sorry for this normie chatter, guys, but I noticed something else too. In England's game, it was 42 degrees, and everybody was just, if you saw Bellingham when he came off, he turned pink. Right, you could see that his skin had gone pink, even though obviously, he's brown. And Harry Kane looked like a beetroot, right? Because they were playing in 42-degree humidity in Florida. That game last night, they were like, "Oh yeah, it's air conditioned, brilliant conditions. They've got they closed the roof and it's air conditioning." How is that fair? Why do England have to play in 42-degree heat? Whereas France is playing air conditioning.
Yeah, maybe that was because Argentina were. What was it? Yeah. That will probably give Argentina an advantage. Yeah, you're right about that.
No, it's just, I don't know.
England players will be more knackered from being more hot.
Call me old-fashioned, but I feel like the same rules should apply to everyone. Anyway.
Before, but just to ask, by the way, I noticed we appear to have been joined a different stream than Deepest Law. We no longer seem to be on Deepest Law. What's happened? Curious investigations.
Well, yes. So, Simon, if you recall last week's office hours, I ran an experiment.
Yes.
Talking about Carl Schmidt. If this gets the same sort of numbers, we can drop the slop altogether, right? However,
yes.
Despite 54% plus of the audience saying they support this move, despite all of the talk. Oh yeah, brilliant movie, and all the rest of it. Did they turn up?
This is the thing. You've got to turn up. The left turn up for things.
They didn't turn up.
They didn't turn up.
And that means the comrades have spoken. So
the slop continues.
it means that we must lure in with slop.
I'm trapped in the crystal limbo.
So after
thumbnail.
I play my advert, we have to talk about the murder of Anne Widdecombe and the sudden and, dare I say, suspicious death of Lindsey Graham. So we'll talk about both of those things that happened while I was away in a moment. But first of all, it has been the hottest summer possibly ever. Definitely
I love these segues.
Definitely of my lifetime. And that means one thing and one thing only. It's the summer sale, ladies and gentlemen. Promo code Scorcher. Ow! It's the academic agency summer sale. Use the promo code Scorcher. 25% off all courses. Scorcher. Get it now. Scorcher. 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 Promo code Scorcher. 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 Buy it now. All right, and I will say that somebody has reminded me that do you remember when England reached the final of the Euros, as you just mentioned? It was Gareth Southgate, wasn't it, the manager?
Yeah.
And they did that thing of the three lions. Three lions. Do you remember that? Where
that was before that was the Euro 2020. Yeah.
Was it that one? That particular one? I refused to watch the final. I refused to watch that game. I refused to watch the football due to the wokery of Southgate. Yeah. Because do you remember it was a big controversy that he was deliberately picking players. He was. Kind of politically correctly affirmative action on penalty takers, and so I boycotted that final. People reminded me about that. Anyway,
BLM, the height of the depths of BLM at the time, everyone kneeling all the time. There was rainbow flag footballs.
Yeah, it was kneeling, and I had a big falling out with the Tory boys over it. If you remember, they were like, "Oh, some things are more important," and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but this is just taking the piss at this point. They're kneeling and affirmative action on penalty takers. Fuck you, Southgate." So I got really.
Some things are more important, but they're not football, for God's sake. I like it, but it's not serious.
Then again, I will say, fast forward all this time later, I don't think nastiness about Bellingham is helping the right. I've seen a lot of nastiness about Bellingham. I feel like that's kind of that's the kind of bad side of it. Yes, Gareth Southgate should not have done what he did, 6 years ago or whatever. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of nastiness about it. Okay, go on, Horns.
It's just a lot of people on the sort of, I don't know, I guess white nationalism or on the proper right. They have a bit of a, I don't know what you call it, like a bit of they talk about football in such a way that just makes them sound like they don't get it, and like they're right, like obviously football is used to more than almost anything else to push civic nationalism and the idea that anyone can become English and so on and so on. Absolutely right, and it's a vehicle for all the leftist ideas and subversive ideas and all sorts of things. But still, criticize it in terms that don't make you sound like an uninformed outsider. And just laying into Bellingham or whoever's the latest black player. I mean, people were having a go at Mark Guehi. I don't know how it's pronounced.
What, the centre back, yeah.
Yeah, who's quite good. But they were having a go at him. They were saying he's taken the place of one of the
Harry Maguire.
Right, who's actually not very consistent at least. And it's like, no, but just I was trying to point out to people, loads of the England team were black, even in the 90s or even the 80s. There was, Paul Parker and John Barnes and stuff. It's like you sound like you've just walked in. You sound like you've just walked in and noticed for the first time. And it's just
that was my first World Cup, Horace, and Parker was my favourite player. Because when I was 8, I found it hilarious that somebody was called Parker, like Nosy Parker. Paul Parker then became my kind of entryway into following football, because I was like, well, who's he play for then? Oh, Manchester United. So I then started actually watching football after the 1990 World Cup. I know he was at QPR for a while, but yeah, and John Barnes was great. I know he's a bit of a dick now, but
yeah, and there was Ian Wright, who's generally popular. There was Les Ferdinand. These go back quite a long way to like the 80s and stuff.
Yeah,
Andy Cole did well, and
like Tommy Rob. This is a Tommy Robinson talking point, right? And when all that Steve Law stuff was happening, I was thinking in the back of my mind, this argument from Tommy is going to be pretty hard to beat. Like, you're going to deport Ian Wright. You know what I mean? And the point is that if you're getting into those sorts of arguments are just not going to get anywhere with anybody in Britain, like anybody anywhere at all.
Yeah, it's just like very sort of they just sort of forget how to connect with people. Like I agree with they deport like 20 million people. That is my position. But this is not getting you there. You just sound like I don't know, like, dweebs isn't the word, but people who just fail to understand the mainstream culture. Like I'm sure I am that in loads of ways, But
this is the bread and circuses critique of football, isn't it? The people who are kind of appearing to be very humorless and over serious about the idea that yes, football is a way of managing certain societal schisms and dissident energy gets dissipated by it. But there's also the people who are saying, yes, but it's a game and we love it and we're very passionate about it. And
there's also this thing, like if you watch Bellingham, right, he is obviously a young man embodying his best self, right? Now you could say, well, he's a little bit arrogant or whatever, but he's still performing at the highest level. Okay. So if you then attack him, it does come across as bitter and loserish. Like it cannot make you look good if you're attacking him for that, and it just gives like so much grist to the left-wing talking points then as well. It just makes you look like a bitter loser. So yeah, I do think it's that ship may have sailed. Anyway, go on, Horace.
I totally understand people who are for a long list of reasons and not watching this and not interested. Absolutely. It's just that some people's way of criticising it, I swear it's not doing any good to the cause whatsoever. And even just saying sports ball and stuff, it just makes you sound like you don't know what you're talking about. Like you're undifferentiating, you're undiscriminate about you. Just okay, like great, but don't shout about it. It's doing nothing. It's achieving nothing.
And I'm notoriously not into football at all, but I agree with you, Horace. I think the chap in the chat who said LARPing politics with no control is bread and circuses. And look at the videos AA is doing this week about persuasion and propaganda. I mean, there's many forms of bread and circuses, and it can be that being a dissident online becomes a bread and circuses that equally dissipates your real world energies as well. So you can't be too sniffy about people enjoying their football.
What's like a more middle class version of bread and circuses? It'd be like sourdough and
grissini and Waitrose olives or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And what's the circuses bit? That's the bread.
Yeah, the circuses.
Wimbledon.
Wimbledon.
Yeah. Yes.
But I was thinking,
World Regatta.
I made that video. I can't remember which video it was. Oh yeah, the one on crowds, Gustave Le Bon. And I was talking in there about how when you're part of a crowd, you kind of start to lose your individuality, right? People become, they call it like the hive effect. They become euphoric. And when they kind of, you're part of something larger than yourself and weird things happen. And one of the places that this happens in the modern world is sports games, football match, rugby matches, things like that. But then I was thinking, like, does this actually happen at Wimbledon? I feel like at Wimbledon, people remain individuals. They do not, there is no euphoric becoming part of the collective, because at Wimbledon, you can, it's, come on, Tim. You can kind of hear individual people in the Wimbledon crowd. So I feel like it doesn't happen at Wimbledon or at the snooker and several other games of that nature. I can scarcely imagine it happening at the cricket either.
Because of Wimbledon. Yeah, Wimbledon is a kind of performative thing as well, isn't it? That you get, the thing is with Wimbledon, you get the camera homing in on the individual in the crowd. So, oh, look, Alistair Campbell is in the royal box at Wimbledon this week. Oh, look, there's Beckham. You know, they become like the nomenclatura.
Yes.
Alex Salmond was one they focused in on once.
Speaking of Beckham, have you noticed that Beckham is at every game? He gets around, doesn't he? It's every single game. It's like, oh, and sitting there is Sir David Beckham.
Does he have body doubles like Saddam, perhaps?
No, he's been at every single game, and I'm like, hold on, he's gone from Mexico to Miami. Now he's in New York. Now he was at the game last night. He'll be at the game tonight as well. So,
do you know, he's like for people who aren't into football, Beckham was good. You could arguably say he was world class. Like he was very good at certain things, but his fame is so far beyond his talent. Like he wasn't up there with the very best of all time, but he's the biggest superstar, like just by personal fame for some reason. Even now, like 10, 15 years after he retired.
Yeah, he was very canny. I didn't know this, right? And we'll get off football in a second, but did you know that David Beckham bought 25% of Inter Miami, the team that Messi plays for? And if you remember, when Beckham went there, American soccer wasn't really a thing, and he kind of tried to make it. Then he got in there and bought 25% of the club, and now Messi has made literally millions and millions for this team Inter Miami, right? And since Messi's gone there, quite a few other kind of fairly big stars go there late in their career. So Beckham was very canny in he has made himself mega rich just through the kind of breaking into American soccer or whatever they call it over there. And the other thing he did, if you remember, Horace, is he invested in youth academies. Do you remember that? No. And one of do you remember there was the Beckham Youth Academies?
Oh, right. Okay.
Well, if the Beckham Youth Academy produces a player who then goes into, goes on to play for Real Madrid or whatever, he then gets to keep like some percentage or some retainer on it for the first part of their career, and he can act as their agent. Sports. Yeah, so he's
that's the thing in America, especially, isn't it?
Smart business guy. He's got a very smart business advice, David Beckham. So
business advice. I would emphasize advice. I mean, he's got a good manager or something. He's got a good business partner or something. He's got a good, he's got someone who makes good suggestions to him. I don't think that's from him, right?
Maybe it's posh. Maybe it's posh. Maybe it's his wife.
Or maybe it's someone called like Morton Silverberg or something. I don't know. But yeah, he's got a good advisor. It's like. Sorry, maybe I hope I'm not insulting you here, but this reminds me of when Jade Goody was still alive. And Woman at Work, I was slagging off Jade Goody to say what a disgusting pig she was. I hate seeing her on TV. And she was sort of agreed, but then she went, she's done well though. She's made her money, hasn't she? And I was like, well, yeah. I mean, money has arrived in her bank account, yeah, but it's not through her smarts, is it? She's got a good manager or something.
Just saying, Horace, right, that there are many other football legends. Look at Gaza. He didn't go that route, right? Or look at, I don't know, some of the contemporaries of Beck's.
George Best.
George. So I'm just saying that, okay, maybe he's got a good manager, but he's done something right.
I'd remind people as well, he was quite a dirty player as well. He got sent off quite a lot of times in his career. He was not like a model. Yeah, he wasn't like a model professional. He had a temper. And
red card against Argentina, famously.
Yeah, that was early in his career, and he never did that again, for England again. Anyway, sorry, I feel like we're sort of boring the other guys with football chat.
We're sitting here stony faced and
so anyway, pick up a course at the academic agency. Promo code Scorcher. David Beckham, he has taken the Trivium, bought several copies for his kids and everything. But anyway,
before we go further, can I chuck in a couple of news items, so to speak? Just really, I'll try and be rude. I know Mr. Chairman here has inveighed against the evils of Twitter, but I had a Twitter win, and this isn't a cope. It isn't a cope, really, but I had a Twitter win last week. I complained on Twitter. I'm a fan of Lidl's mackerel in spicy tomato sauce. And and then recently they put the price up, and in the spirit of economizing, I decided to go for the sardines in spicy tomato sauce, and I found to my bitterness that they didn't use the same spicy tomato sauce, so that the sardines tasted disgusting. And I complained about this on Twitter, and an industry insider on the buying team at Lidl got in touch with me, and they're going to deal with the problem. So there you go. That is the power of Twitter. So I'm talking to my source at Lidl, code name Deep Trough, and we are. I'm going to try and cut a deal with Lidl, a promo deal, because I've said to them, AA had the the Shergar deal, when him and Biggie Harriet were cruising the streets of Porthcawl in their jacked up BMW, and until Biggie got dropped by the Marco MPW crew. But, hopefully I will be rolling in oodles of cash from promos at Lidl, which I will slip in discreetly. Second thing. Yeah.
Go on. A request. I'll say it after. Go on.
Second thing is, this is astonishing. I've put this in the private chat if you want to look at this, but there is an Adam Curtis party conference taking place 11th to the 13th of September in Bournemouth at the Freemasons Hall. Some guy is starting the Adam Curtis party, and they're going to have a conference.
So you mean political party, not a rave?
I don't know. It's kind of, he's a guy who does he's a guy called Brian Jenner. I think he's written stuff for the Daily Skeptic, and he is interested in this idea of going beyond politics. And because it's the 10th anniversary since hypernormalization came out, he's organized this. He does something called the Carnival of Alternative Politics, and he's developed it into this Adam Curtis party thing, this thing of sort of people getting together and talking about post-politics ideas of change. This is taking place, and I'm toying with the idea of going, but I'm sort of waiting till they ask me first.
So, party, and I assume he doesn't mean to try and get in government. Or
no, obviously not. No.
But a party, perhaps, of, I don't know, like-minded people or something? Or
well, he says it's basically people who are sort of, enjoy Adam Curtis, and who want to find a way, because he says Curtis critiqued the failure of mass movements such as Occupy and the Arab Spring as lacking a coherent vision of the future. And he wants to get people to get together to talk about, these kinds of ideas. And there's even going to be an Adam Curtis disco, apparently. That could be quite depressing, I think, if you really want to kind of shuffle awkwardly to burial and
So you're dancing
stare.
Quite jauntily and looking happy, and maybe like dancing with a woman, but the music is like utterly hideous, or it's like Aphex Twin ambient works.
This is actually taking place. Look,
it's a real thing. It's a real thing, and they will be charging the sort of usual conferencey kind of prices. I mean, I think it might be £100 or something. They haven't kind of finalized it yet, but it will be happening. So yeah, Bournemouth at the Freemasons Hall, which apparently they've used just simply because it's easy to hire. The Freemasons aren't as picky as other venues where they kind of are very selective about the politics they represent.
There's no way of knowing this, but what kind of people? Like, do you reckon it'll be mostly sort of left-leaning people? I mean, or what?
Could
I don't
be.
mind, but
as I say, he's kind of, he's kind of sort of centerish, I think. He's a guy who does kind of speech writing courses. I think he's very big on the kind of speaker, teaching people public speaking circuit as well. But it just seems to be one of these kinds of, events that have been organised to get together people interested in Adam Curtis at the very least. So there you go.
About the Lidl fish in cans thing, I just wanted to ask, right?
Yeah.
I have been, for a few years, I've been eating Green and Black's 85% dark chocolate. It says it's organic. I don't know if that's true. Which I've found that to be the best one. Not obviously, I don't know about like the best chocolates in the world, but like for supermarket chocolate, I found that very nice. The price has got so high that I was like, eating much less of it. But I bought a couple of bars of that recently, and it was as though they changed everything. Like it's owned by Mondelez, the people who bought who used to be Kraft, who bought Cadbury's. It was bought by them quite a long time ago, but these standards seem to have remained high. And suddenly they've just changed the ingredients, and it's crap. It's like eating fucking Nestle chocolate or something.
Yeah.
And I'm just can you make them change it back to?
I will
I'm
ask.
Not,
Although
I'm
it's
not
not.
eating that anymore.
Is it a little brand though? Is it kind of one that they stock? I mean,
no, it's Mondelez, the American company, the massive multinational.
This is getting like bloody Esther Ranson or something.
Right, sorry.
Or what was it? Points of View. What was that show? Is it Esther Ranson or what was
that
that
consumer
one
show? Wasn't it?
like one of those.
Watchdog.
You know, Watchdog. That was it. Watchdog with Anne Robinson.
Just saying.
Watchdog.
Just
Do that in a
saying.
Scorcher voice, like Watchdog.
Yeah. Who, me?
That's Life. That was it. That was the one I was thinking of. That's Life. Esther.
Oh yeah.
You remember it was like Esther Ranson with a panel of 3 guys.
Where Curtis started. Yeah.
Well, there we go. There's our tie-in to Curtis.
Yeah.
Are we going to get to our big news stories here? If we have to,
before we get to Trauma Zone, yeah.
Thrust ourselves into the slop.
Okay, so Anne Widdecombe, long time Conservative and then Reform MP, politician, media figure, died. And then the police came out and said, nothing fishy about this, but we've arrested a guy who's 28 years old. We don't think it was politically motivated, but this bloke has been arrested. We've let him go, and we don't think there's anything fishy going on.
And they made sure to mention his racial profile as well.
A white male was arrested and let go, and it wasn't politically motivated. Then a couple of days later, they said, oh, actually, counterterrorism police have got involved. Probably was politically motivated. We've arrested the guy again. And, oh dear, we may have made a mistake here. Oh, shit. That's the whole story. Has anybody been following this? And does anybody have any views on it?
Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh.
Really...
I shouldn't laugh because a 78-year-old woman was killed.
Yeah,
but it's not really anything to follow per se. It was just the police coming out really obviously. You could see there was a U-turn coming from a mile away where they were going. Now remember, there's absolutely nothing political about this. Absolutely nothing to suggest there was anything political or anything to do. And then of course within 3 days it was we're handing it over to the anti-terrorism squad because it's political murder. So,
Why do they bother?
That's really the only story.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They might as well have said nothing.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I was thinking. Why didn't they just keep stum and say, look, it's an ongoing investigation. We'll know hopefully in a few days, and then say what the problem was. I mean, do you think they're just scared of anything just triggering another Southport? There'll just be people throwing bins and being angry. Is that what they're worried about?
It's become a perennial now, though, hasn't it? That this never used to be like this. That police messaging has become contentious insofar as whatever they say either contributes to a lack of trust or goodwill towards the police, and sometimes they try to come out with something. And it was very conspicuous here how they came out and said the suspect is a white male, etc., which they do not do for anybody else. They don't give out descriptions anymore. When's the last time you saw a photo fit, of a suspect and a description so that the public could act as the eyes and ears of the constabulary and look out for people? It doesn't happen. So it's all either contained. So in this example, strangely, some form of description came out to flag that the suspect was a white suspect, and as you say, we don't really know anything. And the police have been challenged because of Southport to make statements, but they just can't seem to get it right. They could just say, we do not have any further information at this time. Inquiries are ongoing. That's what would have happened 40 years ago, 50 years ago. How can they manage to screw this up and alienate the public so much?
What have people been saying? Because I've been on holiday, so you guys are going to have to fill me in. What is this being talked about on Twitter, or is it just?
Well, as we say, there hasn't been that much to discuss really, because it's just the actual story is more just the way the police have messaged it, more so than the actual murder, because we don't know anything about the murder yet, so there isn't really a.
And it's almost like they wish to create the contentious void into which conspiracism and anger will flow and be reprocessed out then as public sentiment, which can then be utilised in a political sense. And they can talk about the far right again, as they did with Southport, or they can talk about the dangers of disinformation online, or they can talk about the way it's been weaponised politically, and various people can be castigated for making comment or not making comment on it. You have on the one hand the lefties go on Newsnight and they can't resist saying, well, yes, it's very sad that she died, but gosh, she wasn't a bigot, wasn't she? Or it's the question of people saying, Nigel Farage, should he have put those flowers out there in that conspicuous way to be seen, to be kind of virtue signaling in some way, and isn't he awful? And so it just becomes this grotesque fodder for debate, instead of just the respect for the fact that, irrespective of who has died, when a human being has been murdered, we perhaps should just have a period of quiet dignity while we let the police get on with it. Or am I crazy in thinking like that?
Oh, well, that's what used to happen.
The very last bit.
Yeah.
The very last bit is maybe a bit crazy because the police might not get on with it, obviously.
Yeah.
I will mention that when this news broke, when we were on holiday, the missus was like, "Oh, I really like Dan Widdecombe. She spoke her mind." And even if she was saying unpopular things, it was really important that there was someone willing to say it, and I admire that about her. So that was the missus's reaction. So clearly, she had some cut through into Normieville, because people kind of knew her, and yeah.
The characters that Hattie Jakes used to play in Carry On all the time. She'd always be like sort of very matronly, but sort of stern but fair type.
Yes.
I never really cared much what Anne Widdecombe said, in the sense that it's not really a matter of agreeing or disagreeing. I just was never that into her politics as such, But she represented a certain type of English woman who I think is basically gone now, and I think our society is actually worse off for what it is that she represented now not being there. In that there was a kind of they were always there. A lot of the time they'd be single, as Anne Widdecombe was. They'd be extremely forthright. But what made them unique, especially among women, is they cared absolutely nothing for what was considered to be sort of of the moment acceptable, or kind of the sort of socially convenient thing to do. They would always just stick resolutely on one particular issue, and say no, it's just wrong. You can't do it because it's wrong, sort of thing. No, very, very, very no nonsense type of person that, as I say, we're sadly lacking, I think, these days.
Yeah, you're right. She's a particular English type that is a dying breed. Let's just say, because it's the sort of character that you miss. And in fact, the missus was kind of saying something similar. She's like, "Oh, you don't get people like that anymore," So. Yeah.
She was noticeably confident in what she did as well. I think Bo said that he saw her speaking on stage and said she was the most natural person on stage, that he'd seen. And I saw that Louis Theroux documentary with her from about 25 years ago. And sure enough, someone chucks an egg. She's doing a speech in a church and someone chucks an egg at her and she's completely unfazed. It's brilliant. And stuff like that. And I think the word doughty comes to mind as well. No one uses that word anymore, right? That's like and she was steadfast, and she seemed like I liked that about her. Like with Panama said, it's not necessarily all that she proclaimed, but she had clearly a firm character. And the other thing was that she said that she explored running for the leadership of the Tory party, and the membership were eager for her, and the MPs were not. And that's that's kind of the story of the Tory party, isn't it? I mean, she was too conservative.
There's always a bit of a double-edged sword with her, though. That she was kind of mediatized into a sort of person. She was put on Strictly Come Dancing, and she was kind of mediatized into a slightly grotesque relic, in a way. So on the one hand, as you say, the people kind of go, well, we respect her forthrightness and her character and eccentricity, but in the media, she's a stand-in for a sort of a decayed order and a kind of a weirdness about that order as well. That's my sense.
Interesting. Yes. Yeah, that is also true. Okay, well, if there's nothing else to say about Anne Widdecombe, I think we were quite nice about it, really, weren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I will say is that a little bit like Peter Hitchens. No, I did that video on Hitchens where I said, like, even if he's wrong, right? I admire the fact that he won't let certain things go. Right? Everybody else has moved on from daylight savings time. He will still moan about it. Or, you know, most people have accepted that addiction is a real thing or ADHD is a real thing. But he sticks to his guns. There was a little bit of that about her as well. And she stuck to her guns on quite a few controversial issues, including, I believe, the issue of LGBT. Am I incorrect to think that? I think she...
Yeah, that was what the left most hated her for, was the opposition to that.
And I kind of admire her for that as well.
You don't change just because things seem to have changed. Some vague idea that the atmosphere has changed. You change if you think things have changed. You know, but, she had a lasting idea.
Also, everything she said, you could tell it came from a place of sincerity. You know, in an age where you got people like, you know, who represents the mainstream right? Oh, Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, you know, these types of people. I mean, you know, and all the sort of various underlings as you go down the ladder into the sort of murky depths of what is considered to be the right wing. Most people are just saying stuff because it's the thing they feel they have to say, or because they want to be cool, or because they're trying to get behind a sort of trend of the week, you know, or I think it'd be really, you know, I'd get attention if I was really edgy on this one issue, you know, but. With her, there was never any doubt that whatever she said, something, it was genuine, sincere belief. I don't think there was ever a situation where she would have said or done anything purely for just, you know, popularity or gain, you know, in that respect. And that type of person is also very rare now.
Well, because everything's been reduced, hasn't it, into the thing about her, she's kind of like the earnest person at a party who people feel a bit awkward around. But it's that word decency, isn't it, that Nigel Farage sometimes uses. He tries to kind of rehabilitate an old world where people talk to just about being decent behavior, and that becomes rendered in modern culture as a kind of prissiness. You know, to be decent, it's kind of a little bit precious and a bit archaic. And that's, you know, sort of loaded onto the people like her, these eccentrics who are, I mean, an earnest, you know, a Christian morality. Farage obviously has to kind of decaffeinate that, take the Christianity out of it, but he can still talk about British decency. But increasingly, it sounds like something that, you know, people had in the 1930s. And now, because we're so hyper individualist, you know, you don't think about that. You just think about my rights, my right to, you know, extend my persona into the world, not to actually have, again, sort of a sense of the collective, or consideration is a word that you could sort of see falling out of use now when people put their feet up on trains. You know, you want to address them on the issue of be considerate of other people. And again, it's made to sound kind of a bit precious and a bit kind of, you know, not with the kids.
That's what the much maligned art of British manners was all about, was basic consideration for other people. That's what being polite is all about. You don't do it because of courtesy for your fellow man and woman, you know. Anyway, before we get on to Lindsey Graham, I did notice in the corner of my eye that Nigel Farage was having a bit of a rough week before Anne Widdecombe. Like, he was caught up in some sort of expenses scandal, or not expenses, funding. Like he's had dodgy donations, and there's been some suggestion that there's been a little bit of a selective application of scrutiny when it comes to this. But I then was like, Nigel Farage has decided to resign in order to clear his name. So how does that work? What's the logic of, if Nigel Farage gets re-elected in Clacton, he clears his name? How on earth does that work? Was that like a kind of populist, sloppulist kind of gambit by Farage to say, I shall have a trial by the public, and therefore, because it doesn't actually clear his name. So what's the point of resigning? I don't really get it at all. What was all that about? Anyone?
God knows. People are sort of contesting whether it's a good or a bad move. Obviously, he resigns as an MP in Clacton. There is a by-election which he forces, so to speak. Once he comes through that by-election, if he wins his position back, all well and good. But then the investigation, parliamentary investigation, goes on, and then that could find a contentious conclusion, which then might force another by-election. And people are arguing about whether that plays to his advantage or not. All the other parties have pulled out, so it would be Nigel Farage versus this Count Binface character, who is a typical bit of kind of British rejectionism of the system by performative, satiric contempt for the political process, and all the other parties have withdrawn. So will this mandate that he gains be meaningful in some sort of way? Well, I guess if he gets that number of votes, then okay, fine. Obviously, some people think it's a tactical error in some way, that there may be a bin face surge that will make him look very silly. From here, who knows? It's all to play for. I mean, I don't think Count Binface is going to be elected as an MP, but it expresses a kind of frustration with his populist cut through Farage that takes this sort of kind of bolshy British form of we're angry at the populists and the way it's going, and so we'll just kind of crap all over the dignity of the idea of public office or elections. And I mean, obviously we have our positions. We think about whether democracy is actually a thing. Is it actually working? Is it legitimating power in any sense, or is it just the window dressing? But for the purposes of this, as people have said also, it's an actual election for an actual member of parliament. But will it just end up becoming a feedback loop for Farage, where he has to constantly reprove himself?
I do not like Binface, by the way, because I feel like it's got that slightly irritating leftist sort of approach. Do you know that guy who what's his name? A Different Bias? Is that the one? The one who looks like he's got scurvy that I occasionally that I occasionally review on office hours. I feel like he would love it. I feel like he would love the idea of the Count Binface. And there's something kind of safe and left compliant about Count Binface that I don't like.
If you want to really do slop today, have a look at the link I just posted in the side chat there, because I think it gets to the heart of what you're saying. If you want to have a look at this, it's an article from the Guardian.
Oh yeah.
I just see the URL of that mentions Boaty McBoatface, and I was thinking exactly that. This is the same people as did Boaty.
Count Binface represents the silly
slop,
sausage. The silly sausage Britain I know and love.
Yeah.
Mr.
Aren't we
Blobby.
wonderful? We don't take anything seriously in Britain, and look, this is exposing the corruption at the heart of the system. This brave satiric warrior.
I don't.
I will say that when I was about 9 or 10, I did find Mr. Blobby funny, but not so much now.
Well,
not a fan of Binface.
He's just been co-opted. He's just the idea of Mr. Blobby. It's like reducing the idea of Britain down to sort of 2015 panel shows, basically.
Yeah, it's conflating it with entertainment.
Yeah, it all just gets down to that. Sort of Paddington. It's like when they had the Paddington Bear thing with the Queen. It's just all. It's a very weird, very pernicious sort of boiling down of everything into sort of mild entertainment slop.
My sense with Binface is that he's at the same sort of level as that Big Boss John guy.
Yeah.
Which the left love as well.
Yeah. The unapologetic individual standing against the consensus in some way, but also advocating for it by effectively doing what they do.
There's a whole culture that I've mentioned this before. It's like the culture of saying, give your head a wobble or cockwomble. What was that? What is that? Because I feel like people who would say those two things would also like Count Binface.
Yeah. Well, it's the conflation. It's the conflation of the obscene with the childish. Is that aesthetic? That world of, like really unfunny female comedians on, you know, on some awful, you know, have I got news for you style thing, calling, you know, well, it's essentially, it's just the substance of that Harry and Paul sketch where they do the panel show. You know, it's just that on an endless loop, isn't it? Basically, that's what the culture. It's what the culture is.
Who's that female? Is it Sarah Milligan?
Milligan.
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like
someone went to school with her, didn't he?
She does the professional northerner thing. Yeah.
I feel like the Count Binface fan might also like Sarah Milligan in some way.
They would. They'll watch this. I keep rooting it back to TV, but it's always inevitably linked to these types of things. They sort of tune into these bits of slop, you know, on the telly to try and get you know, sort of into the loop on this. It's a weird world.
It's a segment of people who kind of, you know, they want to appear urbane and well informed politically, but really at the heart of it, they just really want to coerce everybody into a kind of progressive form of government. You know, they're the classic Guardian reader. They sort of stand off and appear well read.
Just have a laugh. Just have a laugh, Simon.
Well, but the Count Binface then becomes the expression of their frustration with the system. That the fact is, I mean, you know, like him or not, Nigel Farage has gained a certain amount of traction and may represent a certain kind of disruption to the system. Obviously, we may well think he's also part of a containment by the system, but nonetheless, to them, he appears to be, you know, an existential challenge, and they use that sort of hyperbole for it. But you know, I'm slightly losing my train of thought because I feel so sick of all this stuff.
Well, another thing that was part of this same continuum AA was maybe that there was a page called Get in the Sea on Facebook. Do you remember that? And it was like just it was like rants against stuff that everyone found annoying. But then just over a few months, as it got more popular, it just became rants against the right wing. Every one of which ended with "Get in the fucking sea."
That's reminded me. Yeah, it is a kind of ranty part of the public discourse that has got on the left. It's got tired with talking. AA, in one of your videos last week, you talked about this idea that of the omnicompetent citizen.
Yes.
Yeah, the idea that everybody's going to keep up with all affairs and all events, and you know, you see it especially with leftist discourse that, you know, the back and forth on Twitter or wherever they are, you know, they've got all the kind of facts assembled because they're googling in between tweets or something, you know, to sort of bring up my facts and logic to, you know, to try and defeat you, and at a certain point it probably gets too much to be omnicompetent, so they just resort to this kind of you know, kicking the sandcastle over, you know, crapping on the birthday cake and making a sort of fuss about it and saying, well, it's a brave act of satire. In fact, it's just a childish sort of tantrum, because actually, in some ways, they're not winning the arguments against Farage. He's at least captured a populist sentimentality, which they don't have the resource to actually attack, because he's dealing with, I suppose, feelings that are real, as opposed to their feelings of, we have to improve people, we have to aim for perfectibility. And at a certain point, you know, their contestation of facts breaks down, because Farage can just point at things and say, yes, but look at what's happening to the country here and there. And that's where their frustration comes, and they sort of say, well, we'll just take the piss now.
So Farage was on a bit of a downward trajectory. Do we think this, in a strange way, is kind of relit his fortunes? I mean, this scandal has kind of like kept him in the news, and in a way, it's a kind of shit British version of Trump's mugshot or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, the system's going after me.
It's his Churchill gathering storm moment, isn't it? You know, it's the adversity that he faces before, you know, that he's going to the lowest point in morale terms before he surges back up and stands defiant, you know, and gets another.
You mean the wilderness years, maybe?
Oh, well, is that it? Yeah, wilderness years.
I was suspicious when I first heard of the whole thing that this is his engineered way to get out, because this is his pattern, right? He starts a movement, you know, leads it for a while, then declares there's some irreducible problem and leaves. And I was surprised he called the by-election for that reason. I thought, well, you could just say, oh, you know, financial pressure, wrongdoing, I'll just quit. But I don't know. Calling the by-election seems odd, but I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still Nigel Farage. I mean, he may as well be Count Binface himself, you know. for all that it matters to us.
One final thing. Did the death of Anne Widdecombe, this is going to sound awful, but did the murder of Widdecombe do Farage a favour because it changed the news cycle? I'm not suggesting he was behind it. I'm saying,
well, yes, it does.
In a strange way, it just did him a favour because now we're talking about that instead of what we were talking about before. And he got to go to the funeral and look kind of suitably.
Never let a bad news day go to waste.
And haven't they been able to say, well, look, the left are awful. They're trying to kill us, reform politicians. Look,
it may work out then.
Yeah, just to answer your question from earlier, like what you were saying, like what is this thing of like bin face here and like this sort of this kind of slightly ranty, bit sweary. That's another element of the same phenomenon, right? It's funny you say, because I was in a group of people on Facebook. I'm not in it anymore, but this was years ago. It was 8, 9, 10 years ago. Someone in that group came up with the term for this. We'd already noticed this, like cock womble stuff. That sort of people, that sort of generally left-leaning, sweary, ranty, often fat. I don't know. It's just a funny thing. Yeah. They came up with the name steam twee, as in steampunk, because steampunk had a bit of a cachet at the time, like about 10 years ago. Yeah. There was quite a lot of people dressing as steampunk things and going to vaporizer conferences. Like vaporizer. So anyway, and mixed with tweeness, because there is a certain, like, James Felton is probably part of this as well. Like, I fucking love science, and that guy who wrote that, was it the book with Times Britain was a dickhead or whatever, this twee way of making what is basically kind of a serious point, I think, but they only want to take it so far. Steam twee. There's a steampunk, but the twee version. I thought that was quite fun, or twee punk, you could say, but it's kind of like that. It's like tweeness is their affectation in a way, to get through your defenses or something. I don't know, to make themselves seem safe. Like it's strange.
Yeah, and again, the figure of Phil Jupitus looms. I feel like Jupitus was like the version of this, but anyway.
Or Dom Jolly, even.
Oh, Dom Jolly, yeah. Okay, all right. So let us segue now briefly into the untimely and tragic death of Lindsey Graham. Now I will go around the group. And I will ask, how will you miss Lindsey Graham? He was a great light in this world, and Prue would agree. I'll start with you, Horace.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to be sad. He was a real low-life piece of work, and it's good that he's gone. I can't be gracious about it. He was like John McCain, just lived for war, destruction, anti-white as well, like anti the native. Not the native, anti the sort of the original people of the USA. It was for open borders, mass amnesty for illegal immigrants. Putting all the warmonger stuff aside, he's just a thoroughly evil, malevolent person on every level. Awful, and I'm glad he can't work his influence anymore.
No. Okay, I'll pat on our hats. Any nice thoughts or memories of Lindsey Graham?
No, there aren't. It's my answers here. If I probably go the full length of my invective against that type of person, then I might get in trouble. So I'll just leave it at that. Didn't like him. Evil politics, evil lifestyle. Let's see how he faces his judgment on the other side.
And I'd echo that. I saw Mr. D tweet about this, and I felt it was the sort of right tone. I mean, I don't tend to glory in people's deaths, and I think D took the view that essentially, well, like him or not, he has to make his peace with whatever's on the other side. I mean, whatever he did in life, I found contemptible, but nonetheless, that's between him and his God, so to speak.
There's probably, it's not a pleasant thing to speculate about, but there has been some discussion that the true cause of his death may have been hidden from us because it was so sudden. I mean, he was in the Senate, being seen, active in politics only a couple weeks ago. Seems very odd to just sort of.
Wasn't he on some trip to Ukraine or something?
So I hear.
So I mean, I will, because I noticed a headline popped up, and since I'm not on Twitter, my phone, for some reason, it does this thing where it pops up. And if it's not football news, I'll catch the odd news story that comes up this way. And it popped up. Donald Trump says there's nothing suspicious about Lindsey Graham's death, and the FBI are wasting their time. Which in Donald Trump's classic
makes you think.
Really
classic manner makes you think, did Donald Trump have a hand in could Lindsey Graham, is there a suspect list? Because apparently Kash Patel is looking into the suspicious death of Graham.
He was why would someone bump him off from inside the regime? Because he was so their man. He was big on, he's hardcore Zionist, hardcore.
Here's the thing, though, Hat, you're not thinking outside the box enough. Maybe he did something to displease either A, the Ukrainians, B, the Israelis, or C, Donald Trump.
I see Miami Virtue in the chat has mentioned that Richard Spencer has defended Lindsey Graham in a 20-minute video. I know nothing about this, but nonetheless, that's an interesting.
It's got
you dumb right wingers! You don't see the good in him.
Spencer ever, defeating people's expectations.
That's a step too far for even Dickie Spence. Come on.
See, it really must be stopped clock with him, because I've come round to a lot of his earlier positions in the kind of pre-Trump days. I think he was right about stuff, but things like that make me think, well, is he just a contrarian who happens to be right rather than someone that's really thinking about these things? So, I don't know. Dickie Spence.
I suspect his defense will be because of Russia. He's become a very big Russia hawk, Spencer.
Well,
and yeah,
I mean, there was a time when Lindsey Graham's cash on this channel was fairly high because of the Kavanaugh thing. Do you remember?
Well, I was going to, funny enough, I was going to mention that. Do you remember Lindsey Graham's moment in the sun?
That picture,
which was, well, if you remember, he was memed coming out, and they put the shades on him and the little na 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 na, and the little joint and the cool dog shades, and just for a moment, for about a week, Lindsey Graham was kind of loved by the sloppy list right, and by everybody. Basically, everybody came together. Oh, Lindsey Graham's all right after all. Looking back, of course, that was very short-lived. But
in the future, everyone will be Lindsey Graham for 15 minutes.
There was like Lindsey Graham's 15 minutes of not being an evil piece of shit, basically. So yeah, but anyway, couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Was that 2017 when?
That was the Kavanaugh. I think 2018, maybe.
Oh, that was really tedious.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Do you remember how evil they were, though? Do you remember the evil cast of Democrat characters around that? Dianne Feinstein, and do you remember she was like bullying people in the corridor, and they were horrible. They were really horrible in that Cory Booker grandstand. That was a horrible.
It's much more grotesque in America, isn't it? Because there's always like a little cast of characters who are like something out of the Dark Crystal, aren't they? Cackling kind of.
I mean, Feinstein,
Salacious Crumb,
Pelosi, and they were just a grotesque cavalcade of horrible 80-year-old, maybe even 90-year-old senators involved in turning this guy's life upside down for a week or so. And then he got to sit on the Supreme Court forever, and then did absolutely nothing whatsoever to help the right wing at all, ever.
Of course. Just like all of Trump's appointees, of course.
There is also the interesting, space between life and death, because obviously this week I've seen a lot of memes of Mitch McConnell, stories of him having kind of lapsed into actual vegetoid brain death, and then pictures of him appearing to be up in bed smiling and still alive. I mean, he's a man who's existed in a state of limbo for some time as to whether he is actually alive or dead.
Well, I saw they posted a picture of him, but apparently the EXIF data on the photo is from 2008. So
right.
Oh, right.
I don't know.
So it looked that bad back in 2008.
Supposedly, yeah.
So has Cocaine Mitch taken the news of Graham's sad passing badly, or like,
Do not know.
did Benjamin Netanyahu come out and say we had absolutely no hand in the death of Lindsey Graham, as has been his wont? Where they just come out and sound super sus, whatever happens.
Two notable parts of the process, though. One, apparently Lindsey Graham's seat is going to be taken by his sister. She's going to be.
Why? Which is that allowed?
I don't know. I don't. But bear in mind, that may need fact checking. I heard this through the grapevine, as it were. So don't take my word on that. But I've heard that may be it. Which
it doesn't trigger a by-election, or it doesn't.
Well, I think haven't they got one of those senates? Isn't it one of those seats where it's appointed? Or something like that, or you have to appoint somebody to finish the term if they die, or something like that. I don't know specifically, but supposedly, yeah. Or actually, it may be in the perhaps it wasn't in the U.S. Senate. It was in the South Carolina Senate, the local Senate, as opposed to the national one.
Oh no! Yeah, Darlene Graham, the sister of Lindsey Graham, has been sworn in to fulfill his Senate seat.
Is it big? Well, in America, elections are fixed, aren't they? You don't have a by-election because someone died. Like the election will be whenever it was going to. But so was she already the junior senator or something?
But does it not trigger what they call a special election? Because I remember when they were saying if Kamala Harris becomes the president, it would trigger a special election for her seat.
Her Senate seat. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, no, because she was already the vice president.
Yeah.
Sorry, she was already the vice president, so that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just, before we move on to Trauma Zone, I just wanted to address one comment in the chat. I was not saying that Beckham, I said arguably world-class, meaning maybe not, but he was very good. He won the fucking treble with Man U. He was in the Galacticos team of Real Madrid, and it was by merit. Like, I do think he was an excellent player. One of the best passes of it.
115 caps for England.
115 caps. And he was England captain for a long time. He was a good captain. He was one of the best passers I've ever seen. He's one of the best free kick takers of all time. So yeah, he was very good. I just think his fame was way beyond that. He wasn't as good as Zidane, but he was more famous, So.
Just a brief comment in the chat from someone who I feel may be reliable. AA, if someone dies in office, the state governor can apparently appoint someone to complete the term.
All right.
Okay.
I kind of like
their fixed election.
I kind of like
it's very serious.
I kind of like dynastic power in America more than you do here.
Yeah, I kind of like the non-democratic aspect of that. I like it whenever things get. I kind of liked it when the Tories, when Sunak brought in David Cameron. Oh, we're just going to appoint Lord Cameron. Why is he in? No, we'll just bring him back. I dig that.
The U.S. Senate used to be completely appointed. An elected Senate is quite a recent thing. But I think for most of its history, it was just appointed by the president on recommendation of state forces. But also the other process thing which happened this week was that I think the bill to merge the American and Israeli militaries has passed.
What?
Apparently, there was not one Republican voted against it. So
You've got to be kidding.
That's now. No, I'm not. Look it up. I thought you were meant to be the slot man.
What? Well, I've been on holiday.
This is surely satire from Count Panama Face.
No.
This is disruption of truth.
This can't be real.
It's true. It's true. They're merging the Pentagon with the Israeli military, unless I've been gravely misinformed.
Oh.
Mm.
On the 5th of June, following the House Armed Services Committee passage, CAIR released a statement condemning the action, writing Section 224 represents a dangerous attempt to permanently fuse elements of the American military.
Oh, so apparently I was wrong about the vote. Apparently the vote failed. My information was wrong.
It's been blocked by blocked by the Democrats. It's been blocked by Chuck Schumer.
Rare Democrat win.
Literally, Chuck Schumer has stopped this happening. So, thanks, Chuck. It's pretty good. There you go.
That it was tried in the beginning is remarkable enough.
And also, remember, not one Republican voted to oppose.
That is mental.
Thanks. I mean, whoever was
hey,
on Trump in 24.
Hey, could that be behind? Was Lindsey Graham present for that one? Because could that be? They looks like we're not having this happen. Lindsey Graham, sorry, mate, you're gone. Oh, hold on.
It's
Did
nice
Lindsey?
It's nice the
Lindsey
way that
Graham
America's been rescued from its fusion with Israel by Chuck Schumer, the American patriot.
Kind of mental, isn't it? I cannot believe there wasn't actually. Oh my goodness! Yeah, it was a $1 trillion annual defense bill that was blocked by Chuck Schumer as well, including this. So there we go. The Jerusalem Post has called Lindsey Graham a rare statesman in an age of politics. Lindsey Graham actually rose above politics. He was a rare statesman in this day and age. So there we are.
He rose above politics. Like that reminds me of, was it
Tony Blair
or someone's? Someone said like whenever you hear the word bipartisan, like beware, guard your pockets. Because like anyone who like rises above party politics just means they work for the ruling elite, against the people, like always. That's what it always means.
I can't get over this bill that you've just mentioned. That's mental.
Yeah, and it's not got that much press, considering the dire implications of that. I mean, it would literally fuse them into one command. So just have the Pentagon and Israel, the Israeli military as one force. Which, I mean, to be honest, I imagine there's a fair bit of opposition in Israel too, because for obvious reasons,
This has only just happened. So did Sister Graham get to vote in that or what? So I'm just saying that every vote counts, and they were only 4 short, and I'm wondering if Lindsey Graham dies in the middle of this bill going through.
Well, look, there's no need to worry because on Monday, Andy Burnham becomes the Prime Minister, and that will never happen here.
Does he?
I think so, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because nobody's running against him. And like nobody can get enough candidates now, so it's impossible for anyone to run against him.
Yeah.
So hold on a second. Hold on. England win the World Cup on Sunday, and Andy Burnham immediately becomes the Prime Minister.
He gets the credit.
Oh my goodness! And then
he does
immediately Richard Curtis makes a movie starring Hugh Grant.
Count Binface wins in practice.
Yeah. Panama will be on Panama will be on the plane to Paraguay. The rest of us,
that's me gone. Yeah.
Maybe Argentina.
That's not even a joke.
Count Binface sails in on Boatface into the harbour of Lols, and we're all saved.
Well. Okay. Netanyahu reveals why Graham went ballistic over what? Over US military aid to Israel.
Was Lindsey Graham related to Mike Graham? Or
the flat soppy pig, is he still around? Or
he's got his own independent show now on YouTube.
It was quite crushing when he got hundreds of thousands of subs like him.
Oh, I was going to say, like, what was it? Morgoth used to call Mike Graham. He called him a Jabba the Hutt blabbermouth. I always thought that was funny. But Morgoth, just to relate back to the start of the stream, Morgoth highlighted this video. Obviously, Morgoth did an article on Substack talking about wet work and the way we're all just constantly suspicious now. And anytime anyone's murdered and the police don't treat it very normally, and he also pointed to this video. It's by Dark Age Theorist. And it's called, it's from a few months ago, like 6 months ago, I think, called Wet Jobs. People might want to watch that. It's got 25,000 views. Yeah, it's 8 hours long, so, settle in. There's also a follow-up that's another 2 hours as well. But I watched that a while ago, and it's really good. It's, it's about like loads of unexplained deaths. It may not be that they were all murdered by the state or any of them, but they're very suspicious. And, check it out.
I mean, I do, as much as I was not a fan of Lindsey Graham, you have to say that his death is mysterious.
It is mysterious, yeah, to die so suddenly. And with so much going on internationally, it really is. I mean, I would not be surprised if we don't find the true cause out for some time.
Straight, and especially with Trump coming out and say, "Oh, there's nothing to see here, Gov." Nothing to see here, people. It's kind of
Weird
weird that
you
it
would say
came out
that.
and said that. So, okay. All right, then. All right. Well, let's start with Trauma Zone then.
This is in Azerbaijan, right?
Various of the Soviet states were voting towards independence.
Are these like the guys with their fists up? Are they like communist loyalists or thing?
I don't know. I think this is just a public sentiment that was sweeping for reform and change, and generally anger with the corruption of the nomenclatura, especially. But this led to a pushback.
Talking of Georgians, Britain has one famous famous person of Georgian descent. That's Katie Mellower, the singer. She's actually Georgian. So yeah.
Сядем, как сядем, пусть идет сразу назад! Дали!
Lenin turning in his grave.
Yeah.
What? Because he liked Burger King.
What happened to Thatcherite, neo-Thatcherite AA that we had the other week?
Well,
You went to Wales and you saw the deprivation and the decay, and you remembered the evils of Thatcher.
I reading the comments of that stream, it appears that a lot of people did not appreciate or understand my dark humor. Or I got a lot of very angry people like, AA's success has gone to his head. It's just like all the rest of them and all this sort of stuff. It's like they don't understand my arch ironic humor. So
What's this McDonald's thing here? Like it's got a maple leaf under the big M. What's that about? Canadian McDonald's.
It must be Canadian McDonald's.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
Is that different? Do the burgers taste a bit more more self-admiring?
Everything's just smothered in maple syrup.
Yeah. This is January 1990. Yeah.
He looks like Nancy, the newspaper cutting.
I mean, for people in the chat, look, I never supported Stalin. I am not a hardcore communist, and I don't like Margaret Thatcher. Okay, these things need to be stated in this day and age, Simon?
Does the playful character of this channel not impress itself upon people as you watch these streams? I mean, yeah. This girl Natasha, again, this is from the Russian Wonderland series. She was actually a displaced Ukrainian refugee, and she was unable to go to school, so she took to this career of begging. And she's kind of got this very amusing, precocious style, but she is only 6 years old, and so you feel like this is a horrendous situation to be in for a kid. But she's got this very sort of, she's obviously quite darkened by the whole thing already, and quite calloused in a way, as you'll see through the various clips. And her mother kind of was relying on the money that she was bringing in off begging to buy food.
большой. До свидания. Не дал. А дай попить. Туда пойдем. Дай дяде денежка. Нет, у меня нет. У тебя есть. Видишь, я микрофон там наш.
План есть план. Он у нас уже по боку бьет, этот план. Вот. Значит, счетчик накручивает. Это для того, чтобы план большой, километраж нужно выполнить. Если километраж больше сделаешь, там 400-500
A lot of right deviation from this guy. A lot of right deviation.
километров, значит, тебя наказывают. И вот для того, чтобы этот план выполнить и укласться в определенный километраж, некоторые люди двигатель подставляет и обратно накручивает спидометр.
This protest was in October '89. It was called the Gorky Street Human Chain, and there were actually people who were basically carrying placards that were defending Yeltsin, because I mean Yeltsin in a way has as I said before, a bit of a parallel to Farage. He was enormously popular, and it was felt that he was kind of coming under attack from the regime. We saw last week that he did this thing of pulling out of the Communist Party and sort of chopping Gorbachev off at the knees. And he was coming under attack for allegedly going to the US and sort of going on like drinking and buying sprees. And that was in the Communist Party newspaper Pravda. That I think they'd reprinted something from an Italian newspaper, and it didn't have any evidence in the end, so they had to kind of apologize. But it's this thing of, you know, he's this maverick. He's opposed to kind of privileges that the party elite get. And he's calling for a better life for the average Soviet person. So again, sort of very Farage in a way, while at the same time he's enjoying the fruits of access to some money. I mean, it's interesting, you know, his whole thing of just getting pissed. It's a little bit like the protest we saw with Limonov and the National Bolshevik Party, this thing of what they call Russian maximalism. It's kind of almost like a sort of performative accelerationism. Look, he becomes the prime minister. Look, I'm just going to get absolutely hammered because the situation is so terrible. But that's masking a lot of what's going on as well underneath by the emerging establishment, what you call the Siloviki, the securocrats, we would call them.
Carry on.
This is a place called Telakovo. That was the Church of the Nativity of the Blessed Virgin Mary, for those who are interested, which is now being renovated by the local priest, who is on that case, Father Maxim.
These pictures, are they called icons, or is that something else?
No, they're just grave pictures, but icons, I think, generally tend to be the sort of religious pictures done in a traditional style of the Virgin and saints and things.
Watching all this talk of the plan, it's a little bit of a shame that there was never a kind of communist Russia Blackadder. You can see the Politburo. Have cunning plan, my lord. So just imagine how they might. I suppose Death of Stalin was the closest we came to like a kind of communist Blackadder, wasn't it? But
Who would
And
Blackadder
that's an
be?
English film.
who would Blackadder be?
Would he correspond to anyone?
Oh,
Sort
well,
of
within Soviet history.
A crafty survivor of some kind.
Well, if you Blackadder's never like the major players, is he? He's always kind of like a minor, like
He was down in status.
like Andropov, or like who was it? Remember when it was the three of them? He would be like the third wheel next to Brezhnev and the other dude. You know what I mean? He'd be somebody like that.
Well, Andropov is going to come up in a hidden form very soon, because he was craftier than we all thought. In the end, this is the period where, I mean, in a sense, you had their form of what we would call a competency crisis now, where the infrastructure was breaking down, and you were getting these things like the oil wells were flaring. Because the technology was just sort of crumbling, and lots of natural gas was being burned off, like this, or oil wells were being burned off. It wasn't so much. I mean, there was an element of corruption of natural resources actually being smuggled out and sold off, and there was a lot of a rise of organized crime around this as well. But we'll sort of see. I mean, this is just the period of breakdown and industrial neglect. Again, this could presage something about what we might expect to see here or might not see if there is any kind of collapse in the offing.
I think they'd make Kalinin Baldric. I think that's the correct, because Kalinin was meant to be a peasant. So, like, I think they would definitely make Baldric Kalinin. I don't know who, and you'd probably make Stephen Fry Stalin, wouldn't you?
Somebody said there was an idea of a Russian Blackadder set in 1917 with Red Adder, Baldric, and Rick Mayall as Rasputin.
That would be good.
That would be good.
But you can see, like, the Melchuk character would be Stalin, because he already has the big moustache. And you could have maybe you put Darling as
Beria.
What's his name? The old trusty
McInerney.
Molotov, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Or I feel like, did you know what? I feel like Michael Palin, who was not actually in Blackadder, would make a very good Molotov. Did he actually play Molotov?
He played Molotov in Death.
He was Molotov.
Death of Stalin,
you're right. Well, you already played him. Yeah. Well, very good casting. Yeah. So maybe you just bring in Michael Palin for to reprise that role. But yeah, I don't know who the Percy character would be.
When is this set?
This is around hovering between 1988, 89, and 90. There's various bits of footage of the mixed up, but this.
Sorry, I meant the Soviet Blackadder. When is it?
I mean, I would make it. I would make it around the time of the purges for fun. So I'd make
it's like mid to late.
I'd probably make Percy Bukharin or something like that.
Blackadder could sell the right wingers out, and then sell the left wingers out.
If you could just imagine Hugh what's his name? Hugh Laurie, doing a spot of the old right deviation again. They could, it'd be fun. It'd be fun.
Well, who's Percy again? Is that Tim McInerney?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry, yes. No, he was Darling, wasn't he? He was Darling. I'm thinking of the George character.
He was Percy in the Elizabethan one.
I'm thinking of the George character. The Hugh Laurie character would be Bukharin. I think. Yeah.
I went to see Othello at the Globe once, and Tim McInerney was playing Iago. And he was fucking brilliant. He was outstanding. He just owned the whole play, and the other actors were pretty decent, but he just owned every scene. He was superb.
He is a terrific actor.
They should do it while they're all still alive. while the whole Blackadder cast is still alive, they should be like, yeah, make a commie one. They could do an artsy one too. Be fun. I don't know how you cast it. You know. Anyway.
Was intensification 90? Was that covered earlier?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and this is the period where, as I say, this money was being smuggled out to buy computers at which people would play computer games.
Of course.
This is a game he's playing called Master Mouse. Apparently, I've put a video in the private chat if anybody. If AA wants to show a bit of the gameplay of it, but it's pretty much as you see on screen there.
I'll see if I can bring that up. Hold on.
It's kind of like looks like a Pac-Man-y kind of thing.
It's not in the Mount Rushmore of AA's games.
No, it was not a game I'd heard of, but this is Master Mouse.
Very, very ZX Spectrum-y, actually. There you go. Seeing the little mouse scurrying away reminds me a little bit. On this holiday, I took to calling my daughter the Scamp. She is of the age at the moment. She's six and a half, where she has taken to a lot of what I can only describe as Beano and Dandy style mischief. Simon,
yes,
mischief for its own sake.
Minnie the Minx.
Doing silly things and finding it incredibly funny to herself. So I've taken to calling her the Scamp. And for whatever reason, she's never been happy with any nicknames at all. So she'll always be I'm not the Scamp. I'm not the Scamp. My name is, and I'm like, no, if you continue to misbehave, you will be the Scamp. I'll call you by your own name again when you've stopped being the Scamp. And then when we got back yesterday, to try to get her revenge, she started creating a character in a game called the Scamp, who then looked like me. So she was trying to be like, actually, you're the Scamp after all. So anyway, let's carry on.
Projection.
Okay, so wheels down there.
Do you guys like eating scampi then? Do you still have
it's all
scampi?
Right.
Yeah. Always reminds me of I had scampi in 1988 with my grandmother in Fogoni's Cafe. She ordered scampi and she gave me some, and then I had a Knickerbocker Glory. So whenever scampi is brought up, I'm instantly transported back to being 6 years old. Unfortunately, my grandmother's no longer with us. That cafe is no longer with us.
Scampi is no longer available.
Scampi is barely available. You can still get scampi here and there, but it's not the same as it used to be. Not the same as it used to be. There's a Bob Dylan song. Where does it go? All the friends I ever had are gone. All the friends I ever had are gone.
Is that Hurricane?
No, it's from one of the obscure early 90s acoustic albums. I want to say it's from Under the Red Sky. Or is it from? Where's it from? No, it's the one with Blood in My Eyes for You. It's got that on it as well. It's a good album. I forget what it's called now.
Is this
Anyway.
after he'd found Jesus and then lost him again?
This was so in the 80s. Dylan put out some really bad albums in the late 80s, like
Saved.
No. Save was the Christian album. I'm trying to think. There's it's called Under the Groove or Down in the Groove or something. It is shite, like a bad, really bad late 80s Dylan. And then he was went to re-find his roots, and he was contractually obliged to record so many albums for Columbia. I think he's been with them for a long time, and he recorded this album on an actual cassette tape in his own basement with no producer or anything. He just had an acoustic, and he just made it on a cassette tape and sent that in. And it's actually it was one of his best albums for years. So it kind of he refound himself in the early 90s with those 2 acoustic albums. And then he got a big producer called Daniel Lanois, and that he made a big comeback with Time Out of Mind in 1997. All right, let's carry on.
Has he named the first 2 yet?
Well, there's a bunch of them. This was a period. I'm just looking at that character Smolensky there, by the way. I don't know if anybody remembers. There was an actor in the comic strip film Eat the Rich called Nosha Powell, and he's a dead spitting image of Nosha Powell, who was this kind of thuggish, kind of populist politician who was depicted in that film. But this was the period in the 1990s which they call the Semi-Bankirщина. This is the rule of the 7 bankers. So what was happening is things we had hinted there, like oil resources, for instance, were getting sent out of the country. They were being sold, and the money was going into foreign banks, and then it was being returned. And people like Smolensky were the ones who were setting up the first private banking systems in the USSR as it is breaking up. There were various of the oligarchs that we've heard about, and some of them are included in that list of financial magnates. That included Boris Berezovsky, Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who we saw in a previous series on trial. His oil company Yukos was taken off him. Vladimir Gazinsky, Vladimir Potanin, Pyotr Arvin, Mikhail Friedman, and this guy Alexander Smolensky. And the basic thing, you can find out stuff out there about Smolensky, but the basic story was he was a kind of a bit of a hustler in the early 80s, and he tried to pull he went into a kind of a black market business printing Bibles for people, of all things, and he worked in a print works, and he stole a lot of printing ink in order to print these Bibles, these essentially frowned upon books. And he stole a couple of litres of printing to do it. He got caught. He was sentenced to a long time in prison and didn't serve a day. And what it's thought happened is that he was seen as a sort of enterprising young thug. He was picked up really by the KGB, and he became, obviously, he was compromised, and he owed his freedom to the KGB. So he was kind of turned back into the system as someone that you will find in this history of Russia as it develops is the creature of the intelligence services to do as they wish. And there's a very interesting article which I'll post up, which I came across the website Medium, or Medium magazine, and it was an article actually from last year, and I think you'll find this interesting. It's an article called "The State as a Resource of the Intelligence Service: The KGB's Power Management Club." And I'd really like to read a few bits from it. There's some long bits, but I think you'll see what I mean. And it says, about this period as we enter privatization, more and more facts and analyses point to a different picture. Privatization was not so much a spontaneous economic revolution as a carefully planned special operation developed and controlled by certain circles of the former Committee for State Security, the KGB. Some might say that a power-based model of governance is unjust, inhumane, and so forth, I will immediately object. Let's try to recall examples of effective governance when entrusted to the people. You will find hardly any. Moreover, so-called people's governance is usually not genuine. It is merely a facade for elite rule, where the real assets are held. In this sense, the people are never considered true actors, have no independent opinion, and possess no real rights unless they transition into elite status. The only difference between usurpatory and democratic elites lies in the style of punishment administered to the population for behavior deemed inappropriate by either the elites or the enforcers. In some systems you'll be fined, in others you may be executed. From the outside, authoritarian regimes of governance can appear softer than democratic ones. As early as the late Soviet Union, a KGB plan had emerged, a covert program for the redistribution of property, under which the security services seized control of the entire economy, while hiding behind the names of so-called oligarchs. In other words, the new tycoons of the post-Soviet era turned out to be largely nominal owners performing the role of frontmen, while actual control over the assets remained in the hands of individuals from the security services. A lot of this derived from a plan that Yuri Andropov made. People think possibly he started work on this as far back as the mid-60s in his own time, and certainly he presented it in the early 80s as basically a way of taking the Soviet nomenclatura, who were deemed to be the problem. They were corrupt in a sense. Resources were being siphoned out of the state and turned into money, and they were being splurged, and they were being drawn out of the country, spent overseas, and this was becoming a problem for the people that ran the KGB. What in this article you'll refer to them as the Chekists, basically the Cheka, the old Russian intelligence service. That sort of sense of that name and establishment goes on over time. So whether it's the KGB or the FSB, they are the Chekists. These are the security krats, the Siloviki that I referred to there. And what you had was Andropov's plan, which, as it says, it resembled a project of Stalinism with a human face. It envisioned a strict centralization of power for several years, up to and including dictatorship, with the elimination of the old party nomenclatura as a class, which Andropov viewed as a breeding ground for corruption. In the economic sphere, a systematic action program was deemed necessary to pull the country out of stagnation, which Andropov openly admitted. The essence of the plan was to combine the resources of the military-industrial complex and the KGB for an authoritarian modernization of the USSR to create a kind of corporate state modeled after Western corporations. And so they started by taking the young communists, the Komsomol, sort of the young vanguard leaders, and creating, in effect, almost like youth training schemes that Thatcher tried in the 80s, and training these guys up in the ways of Western market economics. And this was led by the old, if you like, reactionary KGB security elites, and they developed their own young Zoomers, let's say, to learn about how the West ran things. And essentially the banks this was the start of the system, creating the private banks. There was one that was called the Imperial Bank, and essentially that was run by the first deputy chairman of the KGB, a guy called Philip Bobkov. And in the 1990s, they created all this sort of very lavish advertising, and they were also very close to one of the big oil companies, Lukoil. But the interesting thing about them is they had an unofficial slogan, and the unofficial slogan was "We are part of the system." And the emblem they had was the old imperial double-headed eagle. So what the Komsomol did was it became a kind of series of enterprise projects to seed, if you like, these young people who had a party allegiance to the old communist hierarchy and to the intelligence services, and to essentially put them into the system as it began to privatize and modernize. So the previous Curtis documentaries sort of traded on the idea that the voucher system that gave people shares in the state industries was hoovered up by the oligarchs, and the oligarchs became the real power. What this particular article goes into, and it's a long article but very well worth reading, was that action of privatization was not spontaneous. It was a special intelligence operation. The oligarchs became the trusted operators of the national assets, and the idea of private ownership ceased to exist, in the sense that the system basically gave you as an oligarch certain usage of power, wealth and resource, and it could be withdrawn at any time. So you didn't have property rights in the same way that we understand in the West. So that's why these guys kind of come and go and get bumped off. The actual real power still resides with the intelligence apparat.
Not a million miles away from China in that respect, but beautiful passage, Simon, and some of it was poetry to my ears. It sounded so good.
I wondered who they'd read.
I especially liked the early passages about how people never have power, and that was strangely beautiful,
strangely resonant. And so this guy refers to it in this article. He talks about Russia became the first security blockchain system, a ledger of power without private property rights. Essentially, he says, in finance, a blockchain is a distributed ledger that records all transactions, supposedly making it impossible to alter records in secret. In a classical blockchain like Bitcoin, participants are protected from arbitrary interference. Trust is ensured by transparency and consensus algorithms. Now imagine a distorted version. The ledger exists, records are kept, but consensus is controlled by a tight inner circle, and individual participants have no guarantee of retaining their, quote, assets. And that's essentially how ownership functions inside the security corporation. And this is effectively the model by which the people like Vladimir Putin, who was involved, I think, back in the late 70s with food distribution. I can't remember. I think it was in St. Petersburg, but you had this element whereby the will to extract state assets and sell them off was being used to generate the massive capital needed to then fund this new system, which is compared to like the historical oligarchy of the Venetian Republic, where you had a handful of families controlling the state. And you had certain clans forming early on in the process. You had clans that formed around the Kremlin or the Yeltsins, or that's what they called the St. Petersburg group. And there were various groups. And what eventually happened as the 90s wore on was the security apparatus said, enough, people are sort of taking the piss here. We're going to now sort of put the hammer down on the system, and it's going to be controlled by the intelligence services. The KGB was rebranded, so to speak. It was reconstituted, but it was the same people. And they released about 100,000 KGB into the private sector, who formed the vanguards that really infiltrated companies throughout Europe as they began to emerge into privatization and to control them. And in the end, it becomes apparent that the oligarchs really are craven and very vulnerable figures who were simply there to administer the power and the financialization and the assets of the former Soviet Union as it became, the Russia at the center of the Russian Federation. And they were entirely disposable. And they still are. So they seem impressive figures. And there was a split between the ones who tried to go their own way. And obviously some of them fell out of windows or came to other kinds of strange ends. And there were some who stuck with the system and were loyal, and they prospered and thrived. And Putin effectively created hundreds and hundreds of new oligarchs by the people who were willing to uphold the security state as it was being reformed. This has also spread out into Western Europe as well. There are, in Austria, there's heads of major banks who are friends with oligarchs. In Italy, the mafia was laundering Russian money. Cyprus, thousands and thousands of companies with links to Russia. France and Germany, politicians being financed with Russian oligarch money. So again, I'm not going to lean into the, Russia bad or anything like that, but it's just the process by which they reformulated control of the state to do away with the uncontrollable corruption that had gone in the Soviet era and bringing it into the service of a tightly controlled, organized, small elite hierarchy.
So Simon, will you post that article?
I'll post that up. Yeah, it's a good long article. There are some critiques that come off the article about saying things like, oh, you know, the KGB wasn't a monolith and all this. Well, I mean, the article really does kind of take account of a lot of that stuff.
What was the bit you said about Andropov had a starting role in this, in that he saw that the communism is coming to an end? Or
well, yes, he I mean, he essentially formulated a kind of a sensibility that they needed to adopt these kind of corporate structures similar to what the West had, but they needed to do it with the kind of iron control of the intelligence service. So it's when people say Russia's a gangster economy, in a sense, what they're kind of glossing over that it's not as impulsively spontaneous or opportunistic as a gangster economy. It's very much controlled by intelligence minds, and although it may involve certain amounts of competition and gangsterism lower down the food chain, the ultimate control of the purse strings is with the people like the Putins who came out of the security apparatus, all the former KGB who I mean, Andropov was possibly drafting a plan as early as 1965, it's thought, to reconfigure the system in this way. Very persuasive article, I find. Very interesting.
Well, one wonders how much the United States basically functions like this as well.
Yes, well, I mean, part of it is what's called the Harvard Group. I mean, we sort of saw fragments of it in earlier series with Jeffrey Sachs coming out to help control the privatization, so to speak. And the article makes a good point of emphasizing, look, a lot of that was probably theatrical. I mean, people like Jeffrey Sachs were probably used, to be honest, to allow these processes to happen in Russia, which meant that money came out, went into the West, and was laundered by Western lawyers. I mean, there's obviously people in London who are specialized in that sort of thing, of putting it into offshore tax havens. And people say, well, there are oligarchs who move overseas. And yes, there were the ones who were sort of on the run from Putin. And there were also some oligarchs who tried to sort of use the funds they had to buy Western property. But essentially, they ended up having, a visit, and they were being drawn back into the system and told that your assets in Russia will be handed on and confiscated if you try to escape, this nexus that we've created and, become independent of the system. And as I say, some people, got killed, and some people, ran away from it, and some were simply compromised by the incentives. And that's what happened. And in the article, it makes interesting notes. It says it's a similar operational logic that's seen in the Mossad, whose methods are also regarded as very effective in this way, in terms of a handshake between state apparatus and corporate screens for capital.
Interesting.
Yes. That could apply way beyond Russia, couldn't it? Like saying.
And that's the idea that is in a way. I mean, it's in a sense, when back in Can't Get You Out of My Head, I talked about the Western security consultancies, these terrifying companies like Hackloit and Diligence in America. And there's a Russian one called Alpha Group, who are this kind of bridge between the civilianized intelligence services and the corporate world. And it's a sort of a hint that we are doing similar things. And this is kind of, the Russians have kind of got us in a bit of a bind. With some of this stuff. The EU is trying to overturn some of the financial loopholes which allow the oligarchical powers to function in this way. But again, it kind of doesn't matter, because as soon as there's a problem, the oligarchs, their wealth can be withdrawn by the central organization of the Russian Federation and redeployed elsewhere. So it's difficult for them to lose.
Нынче озеро дают ни гости, ни кинут, то не дать. А глядим, что нам хлеб был 20 копеек буханка.
This may or may not be relevant, I don't know. But we've got one of your viewers and a reader of my stuff as well is Lewis, spelt with an A, But,
I know the guy.
And he tries to get us to engage with Rurik Skywalker, is it?
Slavland Stalker,
Slavland Stalker, who I have spoken to a bit. And we were sort of talking at cross purposes, but I remember he talked about Andropov a lot, and I just asked him if he knew anything about Bill Browder, who's a very mysterious, strange figure, but I won't go on about him now. But he was someone who worked with Sergei Magnitsky, who's one person who died in a Russian prison. And America, this is not much known about in Britain, but this was quite big news in America for a while, that they passed this Magnitsky Act of like restrictions and sanctions against Russia. This was, I think, after Russia occupied Crimea, but well before Zelensky came in and the current war. And I just noticed that the book on Bill Browder that I read about 7 years ago, before I knew a lot of what I knew now, but was actually by that Alex Craner, who is, when he talks about the British and stuff, is a complete joke. But on Eastern European politics, maybe more worth listening to. I'm not sure. I just in connection with all this, I do just suggest people take a look at that, the Bill Browder Magnitsky Act episode in American politics, which was driven by John McCain, who is a figure who his rise in American politics doesn't make sense. John McCain had no talent, no charisma, no anything, and yet he nearly became president. I was actually glad when Obama beat him. But I just wonder if there's something in what Simon was just suggesting about this being a phenomenon beyond America. I could imagine John McCain was someone created by, I don't know, the state, maybe the security services. I'm not sure.
Well, certainly in America, that's long been an idea, isn't it? The nexus between security services and, if you like, corporate influence. I mean, as JFK film fans, we kind of can talk to some of that sort of stuff.
I mean, my suggestion would be even further, which is, the mega wealthy billionaires, the Elon Musks of this world and the Mark Zuckerbergs and all these sorts of characters. One wonders how close they all end up getting to the running of things as well, whether it's basically unavoidable for, let's say, a company like Google, what's his name, Sergey Brin, like it's not just exactly the same thing.
And Sergey Brin came out of Russia as well, right?
I mean, it just seems like exactly the same structure to me. To the point where I'm not saying people can't get rich in America or in Britain. What I'm saying is, once you're beyond a certain level, once you become Bill Gates, for example, or once you become like on that kind of level, then seemingly inevitably you get kind of become part of Leviathan.
Yeah. I mean, this was explicit in Russia. There was something called Project Russia in 2005. There was I think it was like a whole book that was published on a Russian ministry website. I think it was unexpected, but essentially it was defining it like that. It was explicitly saying oligarchs are being selected for their controllability. Yeah,
and I mean, I don't know. I just think that we saw a little bit of it over the COVID period and over, in fact, over the past 10 years or so. I feel like we've seen more of it. And the way, I don't know, like the way these people never really go away. But like Mark Zuckerberg is somebody who keeps on coming back, back in my mind. I mean, do you remember they made a movie about Mark Zuckerberg called The Social Network? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And they also made a movie about how cool it is to work at Google, right? Like think back about how insulting those things are. Just think about how insulting they are, and yet at one point that was served up. It was served up to us. I don't know. I've got a.
The Social Network.
Go on.
Well, the movie The Social Network. It's not like it makes Zuckerberg out to be a great guy, but I know what you mean. It makes it seem cool and aspirational, something you can do if you go to uni or whatever. But completely contrary to that image, if that's what they're trying to create. There was this article I read again about 5 years ago. I think it was posted by Nativist Concern. If he's, I'll ask him. I'll message him. But it was about the NSA's role in starting Google, and it was quite frank. It was like, well, yeah, the NSA funded Google and got them to do work for the NSA. This was in the before Google was launched as a company. I think Google was like a project at some uni under the aegis of the NSA, like just straight out of the intelligence.
And the Harvard project was essentially funded by USAID, the guys that went over to help with the privatization.
What better intelligence like tool has there ever been than Google, Facebook? Maybe not WhatsApp because that's supposedly encrypted, but Facebook. Facebook and Google know more about me than my own family, literally, if they want to, anyway. If they look, Google anyway. And they literally just look. They watch people jerking off and stuff. They watch people having sex. Like they watch everything, everything. If they want, if they use their tech. It's amazing.
Just to give a couple of examples of oligarchs that we know of who kind of survived. These were kind of what we call the new wave oligarchs. People like Roman Abramovich. They regularly just kind of made big donations or sold off assets when they were told to show they were kind of compliant. The other one was George Osborne's friend Oleg Deripaska. And
also Elijah Usmanov is another newer one. He used to be the main owner of Arsenal Football Club until it was bought by an American billionaire.
Yeah, I mean, Deripaska said something. He said basically, there's no private property in our country. There's only the right of use.
Yeah, well,
why so honest? Why so frank?
Why were these people operating just openly in the West? That's my question. I mean, I know that they've cracked down on Roman Abramovich now. But why were they so buddy with London, and why were they allowed to operate with impunity when all this was going on? It just seems like they were all the same people to me.
Well, there were massive fees being charged by our legal apparatus to help them launder the money.
I see.
Obviously, Deripaska we know just from one incident that happened to be caught by journalists, but he was good friends with Mandelson, George Osborne, and Nathaniel Rothschild, right? Just from that, there was that one particular meeting between them guys that was exposed by journalists. But that stuff like that must be happening all the time. But yeah, Deripaska was close friends with all them three, and that's cross-party, obviously.
Yeah, I mean the idea about that comes across also in this article about the war in Ukraine is that what you had there in Ukraine was you had the ex-KGB, again part of this developed network that would developing corporate interests who were starting to be contravened and confiscated by the imposed regimes in Ukraine, and so this was why the Russians kind of were going in. It wasn't necessarily about control of territory, but it was about the control through the corporate mechanisms they had of the assets, and you cannot opt out of that system in the Russian view. So you had to kind of teach them a lesson by going in. This is how we'll be living in a few years. You have your cows under the floorboards.
Strong arms.
AA will become a major potato trader.
You will never convert me to the carrot pill.
Yeah. See how easily these. Sorry, go on.
Well, just to say, you do have to wonder how much for a lot of these people did life really change that much between, say, 1930 and 1990.
Yeah,
I mean, was there that much difference?
Not at all, really. I mean, that's again an emphasis in this reading is it doesn't change anything about the ambient prosperity of the Russian economy at all.
Well, because there is a major divide essentially between those who say, well, look, if Russia had carried on as it did pre and during the First World War, basically under the Witte plan, they would have reached a level of economic strength and prosperity that would have far outrivaled anything the Soviet Union had achieved. But of course, that's a big what if. Whereas, of course, the opposite hand of that is, well, look what Stalin did in terms of sheer output. But of course, again, then it's a case of, well, but was that basically capped by the fact of the nature of the regime? You know, could it have achieved more outside of that? But I suppose it depends on how much of a materialist one wants to be.
Simon asked a minute ago, we'll be living like these two women, a few years from now. And no, well, because they're prepared and they're used to it. They've got houses built around poverty, right? Whereas we are all reliant on supermarkets.
That's the interesting feature about the dachas. When I was looking into them, they tend to be these split level things where the ground floor level is a kind of barn underneath the house where you can keep the livestock, the warmth of which will keep the livestock alive in the winter, but it'll also warm the house, like sort of underfloor central animal heating.
You get up in the middle of the night for a wee and the floor is warm. It's nice. If you've got a stony floor. What was it? I was going to say something about this, but I've forgotten. It's good, isn't it? Oh yeah, I was just going to say, how strong are these? This old woman, these women are probably they look sort of 70 odd, but they're probably 40 or something. But you can tell they've been doing a lot of hard work because they just with ease lift a big bucket of potatoes out of the ground, and the other one just takes it with one hand. It's fine, just tip it in. Most women can't do that.
Don't mess with those street babushkas.
I see. They'll do you in, Horace. Mess with them.
Yeah, but she used to be pretty when she was young. Now she looks like an old monkey.
She was probably a sniper for the Red Army or something. She took out 80 Germans.
She would sprint along, jump onto their tanks and hit a sticky bomb onto the side and run off and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you see how it says on screen, I think it's enough? I think that's enough, folks. I think it's going to have to be enough for this week.
You're getting better at these segues.
Oh, I know. There's been a couple
anyone
of
tunes it at all.
Sorry, but Simon, if you announce a segue, it ceases to be a segue.
That's true.
But to find a point with it.
Why is it called a segue?
Any reference to it destroys its segue-ness.
I've broken the fourth wall.
Here's something that I've wondered about for a while. On the two Ronnies, when they used to go, it's good night from me and it's good night from him, right? Have you noticed that in sports, they always do this thing of announcing the co-commentator or the color analyst first, and then it'll be like, who is it? It's, and now over to Lee Dixon, but first, Sam Matterface. Why do they do that? Why do they do? It's a strange convention that I've noticed, but they do it quite a lot. It's like they announce the color analyst second, who should be second. They announce him first, and then they'll say, "But first," and then it'll be John Watson.
I think it's a technique to carry you into the next thing. I noticed they do it on LBC. The announcer doing the handover will say, at 10 o'clock it's Nick Abbott, but now it's Ian Dale. So they always kind of prepare you to kind of. It's always like in a way, when shows say, we're going to be interviewing so and so, and you think, oh great, that'll be really interesting. I want to watch that interview, and then they'll say, but first we're going to do 2 other stories to make you stick with the whole show before we give you the delights of the plate.
We're going to be interviewing Umberto Eco or something. But first, it's Jenny Eclair. Or,
yeah, and you have to sit through.
But in this case, you see, in this case, you're not waiting for anything because Lee Dixon's sitting right next to Sam Matterface. You see what I mean? It's like, and now over to Lee Dixon, but first Sam. So what I'm saying is, the commentary team are together.
Yeah.
The lead announcer is Sam Matterface. So the natural thing to do would be say, now over to Sam Matterface with Lee Dixon. But they don't do that. They announce Lee Dixon first, and then they say, But first, Sam Matterface.
So Lee Dixon doesn't feel left out.
It's weird. It's weird. But I think they used to do it in wrestling as well. Be like, now over to Jesse Ventura. But first, it's Gorilla Monsoon. Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's like a billing arrangement that agents probably negotiate to say, you've got to mention my client.
I just don't know why they do that. Anyway, C123 has been a member for 6 years. He says cheers AA for 6 years of membership and 10 years of being subscribed. We've all come a long way in that time, but I'm glad that unpopular opinions endures no matter what you may call it. Oh, ridiculous. Oh, ridiculous
subversion.
I mean, thank you very much for staying with me for all that time and all the different eras that we've been through. I reckon the worst era was the revamp era when I was making daily news videos. The one that immediately preceded this one. Now I'm in my educational era where I'm doing quite meaty educational videos every day. But I think, I don't know, I do not, I'm very proud of a lot of the work I've done on the channel and all the different shows. But if I go and have a look at, I don't know, like the Wednesday video from 6 months ago, it'll probably be something about the Iran war or something. I am not proud of that work. Do you think that's fair? I think that's fair to
it's the least, it's the most time sensitive.
It's transient. It's not built to last. Whereas these videos I'm putting out now, I feel like you could watch them in 10 years and get something from them, like many of my old videos too. Whereas the daily stock video is a low form. It's a low form. It's the equivalent of a magazine or a newspaper.
I'm a little bit put off by some of the titles of the recent videos, though. Like, you can't. I don't know. This is probably stuff like you can't do anything, or like you're fucked. It's just a bit like it's a bit sort of negging, too much negging.
Well, there's all of the. I'll let you into a secret, Horus. All of the new videos have what they call test titles.
Yeah.
So there are 3 separate titles.
Yeah.
And 3 separate thumbnails for each video. And then through the power of click, YouTube determines which is the best title.
I've noticed this. I've noticed the different titles coming out. I was wondering, is he changing the title of the video all the time?
No.
Yeah,
it's a new feature within. So like the Peter Hitchens one, for example, lots of people watch that video. Okay, but through the power of slop clicks, okay, only 28% watched Liberalism Demands Conformity, Dangerous to the Establishment, Peter Hitchens, okay? Only 28% of people watched that one, okay, in terms of watch time. Secular Religion Destroyed British Society, it's over. Only 33% of people. What one? They destroyed family and morality. Britain is already destroyed. 38%. Yeah.
So I didn't watch it. I confess I didn't watch it because it said Britain is already destroyed. I'm not going to.
Yeah. So you have to blame the audience for what they want. What they. So on the Moscow one, for example, right? That had a number of different titles, but the one that said you have no chance got like 50% of all the views, right? So. Don't blame me. Blame the people.
I don't.
Blame the people.
They blame YouTube as well. I don't know.
Yeah, so the one that said progress doesn't exist won the Toynbee one, for example. I do have various different titles that are tried out, and the audience reliably goes for the most hardcore one.
You see, AA is supplying the material, but it's the computer that is orchestrating your anxiety. It's very much like the thing of Marco Pierre White saying, I didn't make Gordon Ramsay cry. He made himself cry. You are making yourselves cry by clicking on those titles.
The Walter Lippmann one, what's winning that? That's kind of fairly even Stevens between the public doesn't exist, why your vote doesn't matter, you know nothing, the myth that destroyed democracy, or your opinion is noise, public opinion is manufactured.
You're
So
you're clicking on your own self-hatred and crushing yourself.
So why is the public like this? Or what? Like, sorry, not the public because they don't exist. But why are the viewing audience like this? Why is that? It fucks me off.
Just is where it is.
I asked.
I'll go straight to my Mark Fisher here. He'll talk about this, that communicative capitalism has become a process of the creation not of products but of anxiety. You keep clicking.
Well, why?
There's an old trick in marketing that they say people only buy things out of fear or greed. Fear or greed. And I suppose the click mechanics are the same.
Don't you understand people's masochism, Horace?
Right, so if I call the video something like Elite Theory Introduction, The Thought of Gianluca Mosca, it wouldn't have got 36,000 views. If I've called it You Have No Choice, right, organized minority, and then people click on it. See?
Yeah.
But also, you mentioned the theory like that things will only sell if you use greed or fear. It's a bit.
It's true.
It's all a bit too. Yeah, but it's a bit too condemning of mankind. Like, if they hadn't been fed that all their life, I don't know. I'm going a bit nurture there, but like, I'm not like that, so I don't want to concede that mankind is like that.
It is what they're like. You have to get out of the way of yourself and see people for who they are.
You're choosing deliberately to pick up people who are only capable of slop engagement. You're not curating a nice audience.
I called that stream last week. What are the weaknesses in Carl Schmitt political theory, right, or political ideas? 7.7 thousand. Okay, now largely similar subject matter on democracy is constant group competition, right? That this was the Carl Schmitt video that got double the views because it's more the title is more engaging, and that's just is what it is. What
about if you put a massive arrow in the picture as well, pointing to like something happening that represents?
Yeah.
Well, so can you not use like big boobs anymore? Does that not work? Or like just women?
I know YouTube censors that, but you see, there's a sweet spot between outright slop titles, which actually put people off, and these sorts of titles I'm using here, and too academic. You have to hit that sweet spot. So, They Destroyed Family Immorality. Peter Hitchens is probably a good title for that sort of thing.
It's a shame. It's a real shame. You see this in all sorts of. I mean, the Lotus Eaters. I think, especially when Callum was there, like they used to do horrible, like really goading, spitting in your face sort of titles. Your ones aren't like that, but they are like kind of like black pill sort of titles, like black pill slop. I'm not calling you slop, but like. I mean, I see it in gaming, like Fallout games made by Bethesda. Yesterday, I saw a video. It had 500,000 views in like 2 days or something, and it was something like Fallout just lost the IP. Bethesda just lost the IP, like the right to make Fallout games, right? And I know that's not true, so I didn't click on it. But like, they're getting 500,000 views in 2 days out of saying that, and like. It's not right. That's not right.
That is literally why it's called communicative capitalism. The clicks are making the money. Angry people click more. All of that stuff. That's what happens. I mean, you see this in these circular battles on Twitter between Americans and Europeans. Oh, you're the Europores. We've got our guns, and then the Europeans go, oh, you haven't got any history, and it just becomes this endless sort of lashing out match, and people just get very involved in it and don't withdraw at all. And say, I'm not going to be manipulated by my nervous response.
Do you want to?
It does take some conscious effort, doesn't it? You're right.
Do you want to have a bet on what's going to win? So I've got two lectures that I've already, that are forthcoming, and I can see what right. So tomorrow is Louis Althusser, our old Marxist friend, right? And the titles are "You're Trapped in the Matrix." And then the thumbnail says, "Escape is almost impossible." activating Agent Smith. Sadly, I cannot see what the thumbnail says. And can you trust your family? And then I think that it says something like they have brainwashed you or something like that. Which one do you think will win? I think the Matrix one will win personally, but which one do you think?
I think it's the other one.
Yeah, I thought the second one. They have brainwashed you. Sounds like that's clickbait.
Yeah, you go to the most fearful one to try and say it isn't so.
On Monday, it's George Sorel, right? This philosopher terrifies the establishment, and then it just says he scares them next to his face, right? And it's got the second one is the power of proletarian violence, and I cannot see what the thumbnail says, sadly. And then the third one is why intellectuals suck.
Well, that will probably do very well because people like to feel superior to someone else, so they'll come in and stick it to the intellectuals, and that's what they want to hear.
You can now keep a little eye on which ones, and well, you'll see that after a day or so, it will settle in on one of them, and that's the one that won.
Yeah,
because the test stops running when it's got enough data.
It's not AA doing it; it's you doing it to yourself.
That's kind of where I love it. Yeah,
yeah, I know.
Kind of love it.
I want to blame it. I want to blame it not on you and not the audience. I basically want to blame. Well, let's move on because you get banned.
It is the trap.
I blame someone else.
It is what it is, but it's the difference between it could be like 40,000 people watching something or like 5,000.
Think of the people who do, right? Obviously, recalling what was that series, the Curtis series, the famous one, Century of the Self. Recalling that and Bernays and Lippmann's own role in, he was like a media commentator, but he was also a propagandist and stuff, wasn't he? I don't know,
he was,
It's just, there's a bit of a theme running through all these people, like Google as well, the ownership and the founding of Alphabet and Google. It's the same tribe, isn't it? It's just, I suspect there's an intermediary role in making us like this. I don't believe we're just this stupid or this.
It's wishful thinking, I'm afraid, Horace. Wishful thinking.
It's not the people who are in charge; it's the people's desires who.
I've just remembered. I've just remembered what the thumbnail for the power of proletarian violence says now. It literally just says "Fed posting on Maine," which is basically George Sorel in a nutshell. George Sorel was the original Fed poster. So there we are.
Posting on what? On Maine.
On Maine, yeah. Fed posting on Maine.
What does that mean?
It means that you've used your main social media account to Fed post.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay, let us carry on. Unprincipled Certainty has gifted 10 memberships to 10 lucky people. They're like those children in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, lucky golden ticket winners. And he has also sent a super chat saying, when he heard she had been murdered in a political killing, did Nigel either A, leap around like a gibbon, or B, do the silent groovy dance? £5 million? I need 8. He also says, I would rather Andy drove the left into the ground than Nigel do the observe. I don't think Andy is going to drive the left into the ground, do you? I feel like he is their comeback narrative. And that Starmer, all the negativity is going to go down with Starmer, and they want Burner Mania now. It's almost like a new Blair.
Yeah.
As Scrump was saying, the problems they've got is that the system is getting more and more and more unwieldy and less responsive to any government control. I mean, even to the point where essentially the old magic Tony Blair switch, it can't work because it can't work for technical reasons. It's a broken machine. So within probably weeks, we'll just be back to the old thing. It'll just be Starmer part 2. They'll be going, oh, bloody awful. No, rubbish messaging. Not doesn't appeal to people.
And he'll clash with the left because they'll make demands of stuff that he can't do.
Well, yeah, they're going to immediately want more Gibbs, and he can't do it.
I feel like he will be less tin-eared than Starmer was. So he'll probably get a little bit more. The Starmer didn't get a honeymoon, if you remember.
No.
Whereas it feels like Burnham is being given that honeymoon. But
in a way, it feels like he's had the honeymoon before he's even entered office, doesn't it? Because everyone's been kind of gassing him up for 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Well, I tell you what, if England win the World Cup, that will even though it's got nothing to do with politics whatsoever, it will definitely.
Well, see, this is my excuse for not supporting England. Not just because I'm a discontented, malicious Welshman, but because I really don't want the government to get the sort of stability boost that they might get from England winning.
It's mental, but it will. If England won the World Cup, it could even be like like plus 10% for Andy Burnham or something.
That's my sense, you see, that it will be a vibes-based thing. It's this tweet that somebody put out yesterday, I retweeted about, how you see all this kind of pedagogic style of communication, they're calling it, this kind of vibes-based thing of you do a walk and talk video, you're the mayoral candidate for Manchester and you're walking in a field and you're saying things like, have you ever noticed how this doesn't work anymore? And you do experiential observations of what's going on, you tie it to a kind of political issue, and then you sort of lay out a program by which you're going to change it. And I can see Andy Burnham doing a lot of those kinds of, even if the switches within Whitehall don't work for him, he'll do a lot of these kind of walk and talk videos. It'd be a bit like the character on the Fast Show. He'll be saying, Manchester, isn't it great? Yeah, fantastic. And he'll be talking about, you know what I mean? It'll be kind of just spieling and giving you a sort of a bit of a buzz, but no actual, things will happen. It'll just be sort of, Andy in the sunshine, giving a kind of lo-fi version of Cool Britannia in a sense.
Well, also, I mean, I think his great asset is that he has the love and support of the cockwomble class, as we call them. The people that sort of middle class, silly sausage, Paddington Bear, Britain. Those types of people. And unfortunately, I think those types of people are largely responsible for deciding whether or not a person is good or bad. In the same way that, I mean, for example, Thatcher, like all the accepted narrative around Thatcher is purely basically just Ben Elton and like a couple of lefty journalists in the 80s. That's what's actually survived. That's what's dominated the accepted opinion. So I do wonder if, no matter what happens, as long as he has those people on side, they'll be praising him on the panel shows, and all the sort of right-thinking midwit types will just go along with it.
I love the idea of the silly sausage class, by the way.
That is what they are, because they don't have any sort of like hard power as such, but they just sort of dominate that cultural space.
Yeah, it's the non-ruler, it's the non-governing elite, as we talk
basically.
About it,
Basically.
Spirit Free has gifted people a membership. Principal Uncertainty says, Simon, I have a bet with myself, which I somehow lose. Are you currently wearing silk or smoking opium?
How did you know? If only.
Nathan CJ Hood has gifted 20 memberships, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of lucky silly sausages out there today. Recusant Pulse says 1 of 3. So he sent 3 super chats in a row on the annual NDAA finances DOD. No funding otherwise. 2027 budget is $1.5 trillion, up 67%. US-Israeli military merger is a reverse acquisition. Israel access to US budget infrastructure is not reciprocal. 2 of 3. Act of Congress has bespoke rule to set debate time, which amendments in order, whether and how legislation can be amended on the floor. Congress votes on an act rule before voting on the act. 3 of 3. NDAA rule. Both blocks Massey amendment to remove Israel clauses and attaches SAVE Act voter registration to NDAA. Rule voted down because of the SAVE Act. They're officially fine with Israel. So this is this American habit of tying together lots of nominally unrelated things and then voting it down for one of the other reasons, not for Israel.
I mean, it is. I hadn't come across this concept of a reverse acquisition before. I take it that's a smaller firm is bought by a larger one, but then basically controls it from within. Or
It can be done, yeah. Sometimes a company can take over one that's like 4 times its size or something. It can happen occasionally.
And that is Israel, is it? Taking over American military. Is that right?
It seemed to be. Well, it does solve quite a few problems internally in the sense that a lot of the time, as I understand it, speaking to people who are more educated on it than I am, the main raison d'etre of the American empire, it's not that it has specific goals as such, it's that it kind of just needs to have things to orientate the empire towards, if you like, in that it understands that if you stop the machine that's been going since, the end of the Second World War, it will begin to implode essentially because things will turn inwards. So obviously there are people who care ideologically about things like Ukraine and about Israel, but there's also a huge amount of people who just need these things to keep going so that there is a kind of teleology. They can there's something to move towards or something to pour resources into. And so if you did merge the two militaries, it would basically, you'd have never-ending supply of operations and hardware to expend and, goals to push and, that obviously notwithstanding just naked ethnic interest by American elites as well. Who
I suppose it would eliminate the need for lobbying, wouldn't it? It's now just the American military.
They wouldn't have to lobby for money or permission every time, would they? They could just do it. They could just have the, they have the Pentagon just invade Lebanon.
Just a formal announcement that America and Israel are the same entity.
Yeah, more or less. Well, this is almost why I'm sort of in favor of it in a backwards way. It's because it would just expose the, it would just show the regime for what it is, as opposed to pretending to hide it.
What's mental is that they've never even had a alliance with Israel officially.
No.
It's a very strange. It's all been done informally. I don't really understand why that is, but.
There's such natural brother countries that you don't even have to have a formal alliance. It's just there. It's like an unspoken
assumed.
It's just the same. It's just the same thing. Yeah.
And people have been very quiet on it as well, which is surprising. Given that there was probably relatively small chance of it going all the way, but the fact that it was proposed and got through the House is pretty significant, isn't it?
Mental. It's just mental.
Has Tucker Carlson said anything on it, or any?
Well, I don't know. I haven't. I've been away. I've not been watching anyone, so don't really know. Okay, well, very, very, very interesting. But now, I mean, look, Lindsey Graham's no longer. He didn't live to see it, so silver lining. All right, everybody. See you all next time. Have a good weekend. I will have a video out tomorrow morning, which will be about Louis Althusser and why you're basically stuck in the ideological matrix forever. There is no way out. Sorry, Horus. And yeah, come on, England, I guess. Come on, England.
Can I do a shout out?
Go on, Horus.
Just on Panama's channel, Panama and Simon have been doing some film reviews. I've watched the Harold Pinter films ones. I haven't watched the latest one yet, but check it out.
Please do.
Thank you.
We're streaming twice a week.
Join us tomorrow, 1:00, for what will probably be Jonathan Meads. I think we haven't actually decided yet, but I think
we've had interest in doing a little bit of a review of Meads' stuff, and we're gonna do subjects which are sort of connected to each other week to week. 2 sessions a week. What are we doing? Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesday, Thursdays, yeah.
And you can go to the channel and also check out Panama. He has a Ko-Fi. Do donate to allow us to continue to do this valuable and important cultural work. And just for people who are interested, the article I mentioned on Medium, the state as a resource of the intelligence service, the KGB's Power Management Club. Do check that out if you're not on Twitter. I'll also post a link on Twitter. It's a very interesting read on what Russia actually is.
Fantastic. Well, a lot of interesting stuff today. And of course, rest in peace to Anne Widdecombe and indeed Lindsey Graham. Bye, everyone.
What goes on in this town is none of your business.
As long as I'm living here, it is.
Then maybe you shouldn't be living here!
Well, that's easily fixed.